Hello.
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Was we're supposed to have Max-Migold. Just give me some few minutes.
Okay.
Name imply air conditioning. Air conditioning ensure the comfort of the environment we human beings stays. Back in those days, before air conditioning came to light, we humans were actually living in a cave. Environment was okay. There are a lot of bushes everywhere. The temperature was mild and the rest. Where we started having challenges is when we started building structures. When a cave, when you go into a cave, it has a general opening. There's no particular door. For sake of security and the sake of them feeling safe, people started building an enclosure. And that enclosure necessitated they having a door for you to go out and come in, and a window for ventilation. So in doing this, human being has forgotten that it generates heat. So when you stay indoors and everywhere is closed, there's no means of ventilation, the temperature within the environment starts to increase. You will notice this more when you go to a bank where there are people are receiving salaries. You have 50 to 100 people within the bank. Even if ACs are working, you notice because of the crowd, the AC seems not to be effective. So what is that passing to you? That we human beings generate heat. And the average temperature of every person is between 36 to 37. Some we mention 36.1, 36.2, and the rest. But just know you generate heat. And in generating heat, what a facility person will look at, a technician will look at, or a maintenance technician will look at is how do I still make this person comfortable indoors? And don't forget, when you go to the village, how do people cool off when indoors is hot? There's no village you go to today that they don't have trees outside their house. Once they notice that the indoors is very hot, they go under the trees to feel the cooling of the environment. But with technology, the scientists will tell you that you don't need to go outside to feel cold. You can be indoor and feel cold. That's why they generated what they call air conditioning system. But before the air conditioning system comes, what they do in those days, they used to go to the polar regions. If you check the map of the world, at the tip of the world, we have Antarctica, some part of Russia, and the rest. All those areas are known to have less, very, very much ice. So those people that are wise then, that knows that they need to cool themselves, they go to this region via ships. They will cut this ice, preserve them, bring them to where it is needed. So along the way, people were trying innovative ideas, started coming in. How can we generate ice without traveling this far distance to this place? So people now got the idea of having to know about air conditioning system. So air conditioning system is a mechanical device that has the capacity to condition the surrounding environment in an enclosed place. So the air conditioning can only work well when the place is enclosed. Don't forget that. Because when your ACs are on, the doors are open, it will not be effective. If your windows are open, it will not be effective. So why do I need air conditioning system? One, you need air conditioning system because you want to add more value to your properties. If you are renting an apartment and people knows that you have AC installed, the value of that property goes up. If clients are coming into your building and they say they want to they want to give out office space, and you tell them, sir, sorry, we don't have AC, you'll be surprised that the value of that property will drop. Even your business, if there's no air conditioning system within your shops, your supermarkets, your mall, you tend to lose more customers. So people discover that having a air conditioning system attract more customers to their business. So you learning about maintaining air condition is one important thing, one important step that you need in ensuring that you become the best in facility management, in air conditioning management, or as a technician. So luxurious apartments have air conditioning systems. Some are even sophisticated to the extent that just mere opening your doors, every system within the buildings are activated. You understand, including your air conditioning system. Some system comes with chiller system, some come with VRF system, some come with split system. Then some, if you don't have much, window unit is still permissible, but it might be a low budget or a student environment or hostels. But when you are talking of areas, building a luxurious apartment in VI, you're having a shopping mall, you talk of central system. People need to be cool. Each time I watch TV, what I always check in TV in an enclosed place in the hall, when I see speakers speaking and I see reflection of the light on their head, I know there is no AC within that environment. Why? They are sweating. So when you see people dancing in an enclosed environment, he's not even breathing himself with paper or using a fan or a local fan. Know that the environment is conducive. So people tend to pay more for an environment that has air conditioning system. Don't forget, my 12, K2 market, Oshodi market is not different from ShopRite. ShopRite is just packaged. My 12 is not packaged. So you pay more going into this mall. You understand? So in order for you to add value and even promote yourself in your environment, you ensure continual usage of air conditioning system. But that is just a brief introduction of air conditioning system. What we are supposed to discuss here is about maintenance. So I ask myself, or you ask yourself, what is maintenance? It's already displayed on the screen. Maintenance in general can be defined as an effort taken to keep the condition and performance of a machine always like the condition and performance of the machine when it is still new. I know of a man around my environment that have maintained a vehicle for over 5 years without any accidents. And the same people that bought the same vehicle have maintained, repaired, and even bought another vehicle just within the space of that 5 years. Maintenance of any component has to do with attitude. You see some Nigerians, if a particular thing does not get spoiled, if it does not give them sign, they don't maintain. That is more of reactive. It doesn't make sense to manage things in that condition because each time you manage the air conditioning or an electrical equipment or any mechanical equipment in that condition, be subject to reactive maintenance and high cost of fixing it. So for AC, you will ensure that as the AC is working, all the important components that come together to ensure that the ACs are working well are properly maintained. Then maintenance. We have reactive maintenance, which we all know is unplanned maintenance. If it doesn't get bad, I will not fix it. That is just a simple definition of reactive. And can I tell you that 90% to 95% Nigerians fall in this group because they will tell you, there's no money. Look at the economy. Don't worry, I will fix it when there's money. But have you forgotten that this thing that you are using to make money for yourself can actually break down? And if it does break down, you are going to lose customers, you are going to lose business. And if you are in an environment where you have clients that you let out pay to, you can start losing your client almost immediately when they see that you cannot provide a solution for them. Then the other side of it, we have what they call the proactive and planned maintenance. This one is when you have a listed item. Whether they give you fault or don't give you fault, you have a schedule to ensure that these components are taken care of. You check the filters, you check condition of your compressors, you check your outdoor unit, you check your indoor unit. Is the AC dripping water? Is the AC working optimally? You ensure it works out fine before you on it for the day. You understand? Then under reactive, you have the corrective type and you have emergency. And most of the equipment that are reactive always come under emergency. And the corrective one, when you call people to come and fix your equipment or machine, be ready for your higher bill because they will tell you, okay, see what we need to fix. And what makes reactive very negative for your facility or your environment is that most parts are not readily available in Nigeria. Please take note of this. Nigeria is not a manufacturing company, a country. You understand? If you have this in mind, you ensure that all these parts are readily available on site so that when there's any issue, you can easily replace. Then you make order for another. But if they are not available, you are now making calls through to Europe. You know, we have COVID-19. Before those components will arrive in Nigeria, you will have lost all your customers within your building or your facility. Nobody can stay in an environment that is hot. And don't forget, if you have a bank within your facility, you are the landlord and they are the tenant. You know, most of them are with and the rest. You don't see them wearing t-shirts and the rest to work. So do you expect them to pull off their suit at every time? It's not possible. So you as a facility manager, a maintenance technician, or somebody who wants to take interest in air conditioning system, you need to ensure that maintenance is top on the list of your agenda for each day. Then we have the proactive, we have the preventive, the predictive. The preventive maintenance is calculated attempts that you got from your operational manual that every 2 months, try and change the oil filters. Every 3 months, remove the filters. Check the electrical cables. Every year, check and remove the compressor oil. They will list them. So you follow them as stated by the manufacturers. Do you understand? And under the preventive, you have the constant interval. You have the age-based preventive maintenance. You have the imperfect maintenance. All these equipment react in different ways. So you adapt any of these components I've just listed to what suit your facility. Then if you now go to the oil companies, they use more of predictive maintenance. They have a graph. Every day they go to check their equipment. Whatever they get, either values and the rest, they put it. The graph begins to show them how the equipment is performing. Immediately you notice that the equipment is diverting from the normal reaction. The graph shows you a sign. Can that person please mute? Can that person please mute? Who is that talking? Can I go ahead, please?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Then we have the reliability-centered maintenance, and we have the condition-based maintenance. When you have spent millions of dollars in buying an equipment into the country, in order for you to get your money back, you need to ensure periodic maintenance of those things. Either you adopt the preventive type or you adopt the predictive type. So those will ensure that you keep yourself on the job and you keep your company happy and your customers too are happy. So you can adopt any of these two, but I will advise you not to take reactive maintenance because it's not good. If you work in a bank that they depend much on your power, they depend much on your cooling system. Anytime there's a breakdown, you know it's emergency. Before you call out, before the people arrive, people are already feeling discomfort. Then if you have a well-designed business continuity plan, people need to be moved to another place. Can you afford all those expenses? You understand? Those are things you need to consider. So a well-planned structure, a well-planned electrical equipment can ensure continued usage of the property for as long as you want, and you begin to make your profit as you need it. Then in your facility, things you need to take control of are the people, the process, and the place. When I say people, how many people use your facility? Your staff use your facility. Visitors use your facility. Then a customer. A visitor or a customer. These are two important persons that come feel your presence in a facility and move on. You hear me, people, most people that goes to ShopRite, about 30 to 40% people that goes to ShopRite, they actually don't buy anything in ShopRite. They just love the conducive environment. They just take a walk around the environment, feel things around, see how the place is glittering. Nobody can go to my 12 and say, let me carry my family, let us go and do a walk around. No, it's not possible. But you go to an environment that is conducive. And what makes the environment conducive? It is what? Air conditioning system. Then one other thing you need to consider is the process. What are the things, what are the activities being carried out within this organization, within this building, in these structures? If it is a bank, you need to work with time. Banks start at a particular time and close at a particular time. And don't forget, their server is 100% running, 24 hours in a day, 7 days in a week, 30 to 31 days in a month, then 365 or 66 days in a year. So as an engineer, as a facility person, as a maintenance person, or AC lover, you need to now make plans to suit people that work in a bank. Then if it is a shopping mall, you need to suit the process that worked in a mall. The way you treat a shopping mall is different from the way you treat a bank. Bank have time they close. Shopping mall sometimes they don't close till around 9 or 10. You understand, as the case may be. Then your environment might be a cinema. Your environment might also be a church. And the way you treat a church is not the way you treat a bank. But there are people also within the facility. They only have their long service maybe on Sundays or during the week where they have programs that involve maybe 1,000 or more persons around. So you need to understand the process that is taking place in that environment. Those things will form your idea of the need to form your maintenance program. And this process is, don't forget, when you have a plan on ground, you will now need to take two decisions, either to employ somebody that understands the program that placed on ground, or you liaise with a company that does the installation of your air conditioning system. So to go for those people is very expensive, but you are rest assured you will sleep less. You sleep more. You sleep more. But when you carry somebody that still knows the job, you will still sleep more. But the problem you have when you employ an incompetent person is there, he has an idea, but not a totality. It will make you run into a lot of troubles within your side. So once you understand the process, you begin to put measures to checkmate what is on ground. Then the place, location, site, your home, where transaction takes place. So we've stated this more like the process. You understand? So this one tends to deal with the building as a whole. Like I've mentioned, banks. Bank does not have big structures like a cinema. They don't have big structures like a church. They have just small structures, more like our home, our office areas and the rest. They are not double volumes and the rest. So these are things you need to put into consideration. If I are to replace a chiller system, am I supposed to replace with a split unit? What is the capacity of AC in this place? And the changes are making harder for the cooling required within the space. Don't forget, about 20 years ago, a lot of offices are enclosed, but because of maybe togetherness, oneness within the team, offices are being broken down. If you go to most offices now, they are now in an open office. You see about 20, 30, 50 employees working in an open office. You understand? So you need to take cognizance of those environments. Some of the problems that you have in those places, like in an office, they don't require noise. You don't expect when your AC is working, is dripping water and dropping on their head, on their document. So these are things you need to put into consideration while you are considering AC maintenance. Then why do we need to maintain our HVAC system? To create comfort, improve indoor air quality. To create comfort, like I told you, human being temperature is between 36 and 37. Anything beyond, if it is less, if it is more, you need to go and see your doctor. You are sick. The same thing, our car too is designed. Your car engine is designed to work at a particular temperature. If it is going lower, most especially when you are in Antarctica, areas like Russia, even some part of America, when it snows, falls, the engine tends to start freezing. So it gives sign on the dashboard. You understand? Then when you are in the temperature, even in Nigeria, sometimes when your car is overheating, your board will give you sign. You see the sign coming, telling you your engine is overheating because there's no effective exchange of heat. So every human being, machine are designed to work at a particular temperature. So once it goes beyond that, there's something wrong that you need to check. So the approved air conditioning comfort for human is between 22 and 25. So when you are regulating your temperature within your office, ensure you put it at 22 or 25. Improve indoor air quality. How does AC improve indoor air quality? People will start asking, AC, all I know is AC does is that it cools. But I'm telling you today, AC goes beyond cooling. The quality of air within your environment too can be improved. Don't forget, when you close your doors, you close your window, all kinds of people move into your space with different kind of body odor, clothes not washed, smell from different kind of food that we bring into an office. Maybe your contractor is working somewhere within your office, all kinds of doors, things, microorganism grows within this environment. And when they grow, they can give you health issues. So in building that has poor indoor air quality, the staff within, they generate what they call poor indoor air quality. And it leads to what they call sick building syndrome. When you enter some building, you start sneezing. When you enter some building, you generate cough. You start coughing. You don't know why. The building has a lot of microbes in the air. So in order for your AC to clean up this, they've ensured that every AC comes with what? A filter. There's something in our body that works exactly like that. If it was in an interactive class now, I would have asked, but I will give you the answer. The answer is our nose. If you check your nose, you'll see some air just within your nose. The air are not there for fashion. They are there to filter out air that is coming into your body. Are you getting my point? So if those things are not there, it creates a lot of dangers for people that might be using them. You get my point? So it is necessary that you ensure that your building has a qualified air conditioning system. You understand? So it saves money. When you have a well-designed maintenance program, you say that you save money over time. Then you'll be able to calculate how much saving you have reduced for your company. Then to reduce total, that should be total breakdown. Your AC, once it's working within the building, your proper maintenance, ensure that the AC does not break down without a given time. Then to prolong the system lifespan. Any system that is well maintained increases its lifespan. Like I told you, that man that was able to maintain his vehicle for about 5 years without one single accident. Then to reduce noise. Each time you maintain your equipment, you'll be surprised that the noise level within that system depreciates, because in terms of maintenance, any loose part within the equipment is taken into consideration. Then to keep the humidity and the pressure and temperature within the regulated environment at minimum. You ask again, what is the humidity within an environment? Humidity is talking about the quantity of water or vapor in air. You might ask, what is the difference? These things are things you know, and I will explain clearly to you. Using two different seasons in Nigeria. Now we are in dry season. We have little moist in air at this time. So you can easily breathe in air without any problem. But when it comes to those seasons we call harmattan period, you'll be surprised that your nose will be very dry. Your lips will have some tear from too much dryness. What is that telling you? We have little or no water in air at those periods. So those things has a lot of effect on equipment. If you have an environment that has too much water content in air, it tends to create an enabling environment for microorganisms to grow. Microorganisms breathe when they see water. Don't forget, when scientists are going to Mars, what are they looking for? They are looking for what? Water. Water is a symbol of what? For life. So once they discover water, they know life is present. Then the AC, what it does, it ensures that the humidity within the environment is within a predetermined size. That means it's either between 45 degrees centigrade or 55 degrees centigrade. Don't forget that. That is the standard for an environment. But when you go to an environment where they produce, and I give you an example like your salt, granite, if you are in an environment, you are the facility manager there, the moist within the environment you need to put into consideration. I give you an example. If you eat your biscuits, it's sweeter when you open the nylon. But when you drop it, open the nylon down, you go out, maybe about 2-3 hours. When you come back, you discover that same biscuit is soft to eat. What has happened? It absorbs water from the air. So if you are in an environment where they produce things like this, you need to be very careful because you can run your company into great loss. My company in the past lost close to about 10 million naira. They did a design for TomTom. When they did the design, they were supposed to introduce a dehumidifier. The essence of a dehumidifier is to remove water content from the environment. It was not considered. So the commission and everybody were happy. But news was coming back from customer buying the TomTom during those periods that the TomTom is sticking to the body of their nylon. So they recorded a lot of poor sale from there. So they investigated and now discovered that the TomTom were being produced in an environment that has high water content. And the only solution was to introduce what they call a dehumidifier. And this can be adopted in an environment. If you stay in VI, you stay in Ikoyi that is closer to the sea, you'll be surprised that your wall will be bringing out algae. You have mold growing on your wall. The only solution is to ensure you introduce a dehumidifier in your house. So you condition the air within the space and remove the water content and give a better humidity to your environment. Mold will not grow when they see that the environment is okay. So I go to the next one. The temperature, I've mentioned that the temperature required by ASHRAE is between 22 and 25. Anything below or high, people begin to feel discomfort. And from research that have been done in the past, they've linked up high yield or high performance, high productivity to staff working in a conducive environment. So if you want to improve the productivity of your staff, ensure they work in a very nice environment. If not, you will start recording low productivity. Then to improve the efficiency of your electrical system, each time you maintain your equipment, your electrical system efficiency within this AC is being improved. Then to keep our data center running, don't forget the backbone of every data is air conditioning system. Even while the building central system are shut down, go to Union Bank, their headquarters, go to First Bank, their headquarters, Citibank, the data center does not shut down. Don't forget, all your ATM, all your POS, all your transaction via phone has a direct link to their data center. So just imagine the data center shut down. Within 1 week, I can assure you they will lose about 10% of their customers. You've been to a place where you want to withdraw from ATM, they told you that the ATM is not working or you can't withdraw. Sometimes when you have issues like that, you start seeing people running out of things. That's why I see some banks, when they know they want to shut down their data center for maintenance, they always send you a text message that during the weekend from so time to so time, there will be an upgrade. There will be this, there will be that, just to ensure that you are within the system. So those things form well-planned maintenance program. So I asked you too, what is HVAC? HVAC stands for, the H there stands for heating, the V for ventilation, then the AC is air conditioning system. Please don't forget. When you say heat, you might say, what is heat looking for in air conditioning system? But don't forget, you might be opportune to go to Canada today. The environment are divided into two. It's either it is winter or summer. If they are in summer, you need more of what? Air conditioning system. And if they're in winter, you need more of what? Heating. But no human being, most especially plant, will not perform there well when winter is available. Sometimes their temperature can go as low as -3, -10. And we Nigerians, now that we have, if you check your environment, and you can check environments in Nigeria today, if you're in Lagos, you'll be surprised the temperature outdoor will be around 20 or 23. Even at this, people are still complaining it's cold outside. Talk less when the temperature is -10. Ice will be frozen. Sea will be frozen. Even vehicle can move on top of the sea during this period. So heating is a necessity in this environment. And there are some companies, even within Nigeria, that buys an equipment they call the heat pump. The heat pump will work like air conditioning system, but there's one additional advantage. It can also heat. There's just one key. There's something you press on your remote control, it will give you heat. If the temperature is so cold outside that you need the environment to be warm, you just, by click on your remote control, your environment will be warm. So those equipment are called the heat pump. But the focus on this place is maintenance and more on air conditioning system. Then you might ask your question of ventilation. Why is ventilation important? Ventilation is everything. Ventilation is everything because one, your kitchen, if you don't remove those smoke that comes out from the kitchen, we will not have the Mr. Biggs we have today. We will not have the Kitchen Republic we have today. We will not have the Kilimanjaros, all the fast food you have. They cook within the place, but the heat does not disturb them because a mechanical equipment was designed to take out heat and take out what smell that will not come to where people are eating. So ventilation is also important. The other areas you can also look at is your restroom. Your restroom, if it is well ventilated, you will see an extractor fan on top of your bedroom. In standard organization, you see them there. Those things are designed to take out smell. Because if you don't take out smell, that smell remains within that place. And if by a peradventure your AC is close to it, your AC can pick up that smell and pump into an environment there. So ventilation is everything. Somewhere they called us to come and do some inspection. The issue they had is that they have form of extraction. They designed a fresh air unit for them. It's supposed to bring in air into the environment. So the point of bringing air was actually installed where they have sockaway. That sockaway started pricking smell from outside, pumping it to where those children are playing. So the man that was recording sales over 1 million per day was now recording 200,000 because people cannot endure the smell. People moved out. So you might say ventilation is not important. It is all important. Even your AC too works with the principle of ventilation because hot air definitely rises. Then the one that is cool is heavier, it falls to the ground. Then if you check the design of your indoor unit, if you have one at home, you can confirm this. You see your return air is on top of the AC. Where the cool air is discharged from is just beneath that unit, pumping into you. You understand? So if you take into consideration of these two things, you now understand that air cannot move from one place to the other without the variation in density of air, because hotter air is lighter. Then cooler air is heavier, it falls to the ground. You understand? Then air conditioning system, this is what we have been talking about. See, this is which is used to maintain or control an environment within a building for the occupant or for the process being conducted. To maintain the environment, the HVAC system controls some factors. The temperature, we've mentioned this. The humidity, we've mentioned this. Air distribution. When air moves from one point to the other, we talk about distribution. You will see the significance of this in an open space where you have about 50 workers. You will see some staff will be complaining that their AC is excessively cold, while some group within the same open office will say they are not feeling any AC. So air distribution matters a lot. You can generate AC, cool air within an environment. If the distribution is not effective, you will reduce productivity of some and over increase the productivity of others. The air quality, I told you that every air conditioning system comes with a filter. And what is the work of the filter? To remove dirt from the air and give you what? A cleaner air to breathe in. Air velocity too matters. The fan that is in the AC gives the required velocity for the air to move. So this air velocity actually is a function of air distribution. So don't forget that. And noise levels also is controlled because the office space required to work within a decibel of 25 decibel. Some office might require 20 decibel, some 30 decibel. Some AC have been designed to work with a bed-like fan. When I say bed-like fan, when a bird flies, you don't hear the sound of their wings. So some AC have incorporated those technology as they are working. You don't hear any sound. If you talk about the olden days air conditioning system, you see then the way they work, they will give you the required cooling, but noise is coming out from the AC. So we'll go to the next one. So I will let us take time to digest on this component. In every air conditioning system, we have the compressor. Let me see if I have a, okay. Let me use this one. We have, can you see this? Can everybody see this? Please, if you
Yes,
can
sir.
see, let me,
Yes,
yes, so let me go ahead.
Yes, sir.
So,
go ahead, sir.
are you seeing what I'm pointing now?
yes,
Yes.
sir.
Yes, this is the
Clearly.
compressor. This is the compressor. The compressor works like human heart. Don't forget, your human heart has arteries and veins. They give what they give blood out, and they take in blood. Once the artery is going out, carry oxygenated, the other one is coming back to take oxygen from the heart, because they work in conjunction with your lungs. Your lungs, that is through your nose. The compressor work the same way. They have copper pipe connected to them. They are called the liquid line and the suction line. And if you see the symbol clearly here, sorry for that. If you see the symbol here, you see that some of the pipes are marked red, while some are marked blue. Those ones that are marked red are what? Very high. So I explained the principle of how air conditioning works. When you on your AC, your fan begins to work while your compressor to start working. But in a bigger unit, it takes about 2 to 5 minutes for some compressor to peak. What are they doing? In every compressor, there is an oil that is installed inside it. You know, like just you have your oil in your home. During our harmattan period, you see that they form solid. Sometimes when the thing is not working, or it has been used for a long time, those oil actually turn to solid. So each time you on the AC, there's a heating element that warm up this oil. So that's why I see that the AC sometimes take about 2 to 3 minutes. But as the system increases, maybe in chiller system, it takes up to 5 to 10 minutes for the compressor to pick up. Once the oil is effectively warmed, it now turns to what? Liquid, so it can now move. Then inside the compressor, they have what they call a refrigerant. A refrigerant is a gas that has what? A refrigerating effect. When I say refrigerating effect, a cooling effect. Air cools, you understand? But they discovered there's some gas that has this refrigerating effect more than others. So they decide to classify them as what? Refrigerant. In that refrigerant, we have R410, we have R22, we have R134A, we have R407, we have a host lot of refrigerants. But one other thing you will take into, there's a course under that refrigerant that will tell you about the green gas effect and global warming. The environment that is being destroyed, your AC, your refrigerator are playing part in. But that is an elaborate course of its own. But I will just mention a little for you guys. So those gas are not to be released into the environment, most especially R22. They have an equipment they use in recovering them. But in Nigeria, freely we discharge into the environment, we don't care. But in Europe, where they have policies and measures put in place, they ensure those gases are what recovered inside a can and taken to a company for recycling and reuse. So once you on your AC, the compressor, after a heat up, what happens here? I will use the temperature diagram to work that one out. I don't know if I can get something like a body. Sorry, can I do so? Okay, I can draw something here. Okay, as I was saying, I picked out what I'm gone. Just carry this thing down. Sorry. This particular part, we have what they call the pressure. I will represent that with a P. Then we have what they call the temperature. I will represent that with a T. A good example is this. Those women in the house and some of us that cook, we understand this a lot. When you boil water, what happens? There are some kettle that whistles when the water finishes boiling. The temperature has increased and the pressure of the steam actually causes that with their movement through a small narrow part causes that whistling. That same boiling effect actually happens in your compressor. So when you on, the temperature of that refrigerant gas goes up. You understand? I'm using this arrow to indicate. Then that of the temperature also do what? Goes up at this point. This look like a T, but not a T. Please, that is an arrow. I hope you understand. That is an arrow. So that's why you see that this red line, this plane becomes red because it's high. So when it's high, what happens? It passes through your copper pipes and it comes into what? The condenser. Please, you need to understand this process to understand when you need to maintain your AC. All these four components you see here, the compressor, condenser, expansion valve, evaporator, are the basic components in AC. So in order for you to maintain, you need to understand how they work so that when they're malfunctioning, you will know which one is malfunctioning. So take time to listen. So once the compressor temperature picks up, what happens? The temperature goes up, the pressure goes up. That's why you see the red line. So it comes to where we have the condenser. The condenser is the outdoor unit you have in your house, in your offices, in anywhere. So what does it do? This one has a fan always blowing, and it blows air from the environment around it. And as it blows air around it, what happens to it? You see this big arrow. The hot air is being discharged from the condenser. That hot air that is being discharged, that's why you see sometimes your technician on site will carry their wet clothes and go and dry in front of your AC. It's not advisable to do that because each time you do that, you are reducing the efficiency of your AC because normally the AC needs a lot of ventilated environment. Presently, we were called into a building. The building is one of the buildings on body lawn. I'm not going to call the name of the building, but there are a lot of defects in the building. When they built the building, the AC was actually installed in an enclosed environment, the outdoor unit. So as it's discharging the hot air is not going anywhere. It still sucks the same hot air into itself. Because the AC has a preventive mechanism, it shuts down. It doesn't work because it needs a cooler head to cool the compressor. If you are lucky enough to touch the compressor, you will see how hot the compressor is. So in designing that, the house girl, what the house girl now does, when you saw that the environment is the hottest part in the environment, she always dry their cloth around that place. I will not blame her. That is an innovation in our own part, so that madam will not blame her. But at the same time, you are killing the air conditioning system because the air conditioning system needs to be cool. Sorry, I'm bringing this into it. There's this song this man sang. I can't ask question now because I can't ask. What cools an equipment faster? Is it air or water? The answer is what? Water. But for air conditioning system, you don't use, if they incorporate water, you pay more for it. But they now include the environment, the air within the environment to cool it. The air actually moves around to the back of your AC and comes through this place with the aid of the fan. It now blows out the hot air. And if you check from this point, the hot air is fully discharged. Your temperature at this point has done what? Temperature here has dropped because part of it has been blown into the environment. While the pressure within the system still remain what? High. So how do we reduce the pressure within the environment? We reduce this by introducing what we call an expansion valve. The expansion valve works like a capillary tube behind your TV, behind your refrigerator. You will see something like this in your expansion valve. When you this old refrigerator, you see something that look like this. I hope you can see this. Then there's a continuation of a pipe here. So when the gas is coming at a high temperature, what happens to it? Because there's enough space here, it reduces the velocity of the refrigerant gas. And as it reduces the velocity, the pressure at this point has reduced. So you put your P here, the pressure here has reduced because of that mechanism they call the expansion valve. And the temperature has initially been reduced by your condenser. So because of these two things you have achieved, you have gained what they call the refrigerating effect, the cooling effect. That cooling effect is now manifested in your indoor units. Your indoor unit is what they call the evaporator. It also has a coil indoor, which also has a fan also. Just like your outdoor unit. They are the same thing, but they work in opposite way. This one supply cool air. The blue line is signifying cool air, while the red line is signifying hot air. You see the way they work. This one to blow air in this direction. So this is the cooling that actually comes into your space. This is where you experience your comfort. This is where you increase productivity of workers. So your evaporator work in this miraculous way. And your evaporator, sometimes your coil has filter on the return line. Here on top of it, they have something like a filter on the return line here. Don't forget, if this place is an enclosed environment, and this is you here. Sorry, I'm drawing people like this in the environment, watching TV in the house. As you are generating heat, you understand, that heat is going up of your roof. And as it's going up through your roof, the heat is being sucked by your AC. And that AC takes up this thing. Your filter is actually installed at this point. So if the dirt in your air is about 100%, by the time it passes through this place, the dirt must have been reduced to about 95%. So clean air actually enters the AC, and it goes into your evaporator, and it blows out through the under as what? As cool air into space. So this is hot air, and down here is your cool air. This is what brings about the cooling that you require within your space. Like I've mentioned, the compressor, in order for you to take care of the compressor, you must ensure that you give it the required electrical power. Nigeria has problem of electricity. It's either you have a higher voltage or you have a lesser voltage. A higher voltage is so dangerous to your compressor, and a lower voltage is also dangerous to your compressor. So you must ensure that required voltage enter your compressor through your AC. So if your AC is working with 240 volts or 220 volts, ensure that it remains within those values. Anything less than 200, 180 can burn compressor. Then anything as high as 250, 260 can also burn your compressor. But the engineers have designed what they call variable frequency voltage, what did they call VF? I've forgotten the name of this thing. It's a
voltage regulator.
Yes,
Automatic voltage regulator.
Yes, automatic
AVR.
voltage regulator. AVR, AVS. The essence of this AVS is to protect your AC. There was a company we entered somewhere in Ikeja. They were having a lot of, every week, every month, they changed their compressor. They didn't have somebody that was wise enough to check that they were having problem with the electricity. But finally, they were able to get somebody that came in, who was able to measure their voltage within a week and told them the reason why they're having so much equipment burning is because of the power supply they have. So what they did was to protect the equipment. He said that they use the AVR or AVS or build a panel that can sense any slight change in voltage. You know, there are panels that are sensitive to voltage change. They have something that can trigger off that voltage, thereby saving your equipment. Don't forget, AVS is required to also protect your AC. But if you have a standard panel that is designed for your AC, you can also incorporate those things inside your AC. But AVS is also important. They are cheaper. You can see them between 15 or 30,000, depending on quality that you need to protect your AC, and you have a sleepless night. Don't forget, once your compressor gets bad, one compressor, as I'm speaking to you, is going between, you can see the price from 30 to 70,000 because the dollar value in the market is going high. So all these components are going high. If your company, you are the facility manager or the maintaining officer in the building, and you have about 3 compressors that got born within a time, and the client is telling you, I'm paying for services, you need to change your compressor. You go to the market and you now see that one is costing 70,000. How many are you going to buy? 210,000. Where is that money going to come from? So you being a maintenance person in charge of the building, you need to look for components to protect assets, electrical assets you have in the building, which AC is one of them. Then your compressor too must be well ventilated. Don't install your AC where there's no room for cool air to go to where the outdoor unit is installed. So you need enough space behind your AC. Then you need a maximum of 1 meter in front of your AC to discharge, and about 200 cm, that is 0.2 meter, behind your AC for effective or a cooler air to come in and cool your compressor. Then we move to the condenser. The condenser must not be installed in a dusty environment because one is sucking air through it. As it's sucking this air, it will clog the coil. And if it clogs the coil, you will not be able to cool well because the hot air actually going out will actually continue its movement to the expansion bar, and that is not required. This T must be lower for the refrigerant pipe, for the refrigerant gas to gain that cooling effect required. If it is still high, do not expect any cooling from your evaporator. All these processes must be followed. In Nigeria, we call them due processes. If they are truncated or one step is jumped, you will not get any cooling. That is when your AC start having problems. Then when you put them, a good example of your condenser is your car radiator. When your car radiator has absorbed too much dust, maybe you stay in an environment where you have flood, your AC going into flood water every time. When it evaporates, it leaves particle of dust or sand in your evaporator, or oil or something in your evaporator. So when you are driving, you see that there's no effective heat exchange because your radiator is supposed to cool your engine. And if your engine is not properly cooled, it passes the excessive heat back to your engine. That's why your car engine can give you that sign that is overheating. You understand? And that can run down your vehicle if it is not well maintained. So ensure your condensers are well installed and the evaporator are well cleaned. Then we use what they call a pressure washing machine to wash out your condenser coil. Most people must have seen it in the house. And if you are not seeing it, just list it down. You can check it on Google. You'll see there, the pressure wash actually has water at one point, or you connect it to your tap, you use it to pressure wash and remove the dirt and allow your condenser coil to work efficiently. Then my own advice also to you, when you go to the market, when you want to buy AC, ensure your AC is copper aluminum. Copper coil, aluminum fin. Don't buy aluminum coil, aluminum fin. They will work. But the problem with our copper coil and aluminum fin is that aluminum, once it is ruptured, gas will leak out. We don't have the equipment. And even if we have equipment to seal up the leakage, it will be very expensive. I can assure you, it will be more than the cost of buying another air conditioning system. So there's some technology that we are bringing into Nigeria that is not adaptable to our environment. You see somebody going to China to bring things that was designed for Russia environment. It might not work here. You understand? So you need to check. Don't say because it has a popular name. Take notice. Do your investigation before you buy any equipment. Then your expansion valve. The major problem with your expansion valve is blockage. When your AC is being installed, you see some of your technicians, they don't follow standard process of installing. Some particles of your copper, some particles of your carbon compound fall and block this small passage. And if this small passage is blocked, no refrigerant actually go to your evaporator. And if it doesn't go, what happens? The evaporator will not discharge the required cooling. The fan will just be blowing. It will not go. Then all these things will return back to your compressor. If your compressor has a protective mechanism, it will shut down, not destroying itself. But if it does not have, it will work till it breaks down. And if it breaks down, you are buying new AC or you are buying new compressor. Then the major one here is the evaporator. When you are doing maintenance, you know that the filter must be washed. The standard method of maintenance is 3 months. 4 months for your AC, that is quarterly. Every 4 months, whether your AC is not working or not working, ensure you do your maintenance. Your filters must be removed and washed. If your filters keep removing dust, at a time, this your filter will be totally blocked. And if it's blocked, nothing will be passing through it. You think you are filtering, you are not filtering. Or some of the dust might pass through, will go and clog your what? Your evaporator. And by this doing, the required cooling will not get into what? Into the space. Then you start seeing ice form on their surface. And if ice form on their surface, what it does it lead to? It defrooses when you are not using it. And if it defrooses along your wall, it's either it start forming algae or it start falling mold on your wall. And this is not healthy for a luxurious apartment. If you are the one that is maintaining a luxurious apartment, such thing reduces the value of your property. So by keeping all these 4 components in mind, you will be surprised that AC, this is the general thing about air conditioning system. So I progress to the next page. Are we going to have break?
Yes, sir.
About like how many minutes more? Please notify me if you want to.
All right, sir.
Okay. Sorry. Can you see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
I'm supposed to go to the next page. Okay. I've drawn a whole lot of things on my screen here. Can we continue like that?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Let's continue.
Other components you have in your ACs are the evaporator fan. When the cooling is generated, the evaporator itself cannot push out your cooling air. So a fan is incorporated into it. That fan blows out the cool air and at the same time take up the hot air for further processing and pushing out into the space. So that fan is called evaporator fan. And this fan, they work with capacitors. The capacitor tends to boost up the fan. If the fan stops working, it affects the functionality of the AC. Your condenser fan is the one that is in the outdoor unit. When I say your technician dry clothes in front of the evaporator coil, this is what I mean. The fan blows out the hot air at the outdoor unit. So your guys put their wet clothes, their wet shoes to get it dry. Then electrical cables, there's no AC without talking about cables. Most fire outbreak in the night, most fire outbreak in some factories, in some industries are caused by what? Air conditioning system. Please, at no time should you use China electrical cable. I can beat my chest to tell you, Nigeria, this is one thing I know Nigeria is doing well. Our cables are very good and standard. But now I hear that they are making fake in the market. Please, when you want to buy cable, please be careful of cable, because that small cable you're trying to save cost on can actually cost the burning of your factories or your company. Buy Nigerian cables. Then electrical plug. Don't forget the minimum size required for electrical plug is 15 amps. Please take note. 15 what? 15 amps. At no time should you use 13 amps for AC because it's a heat generating equipment. 13 amps cannot handle the load of your AC. Then we have dryers. When you are going to bigger equipment, we have what they call dryers. The essence of dryer is to remove moist from your what? Refrigerant gas. Then side glass. Side glass is for you to view and see that the refrigerant gas passing into your compressor is actually dry. They are color code on top of their surface. We have red, we have blue, and I think we have green. So when it is blue, it's telling you it is working very well. But when it's showing red or green, it's showing that there's moist in the system. And that will lead to what they call corrosion of any metallic compound. And you know your compressor is made up of metal, so it can get corroded if water gets into it. So that dryer remove water moist, while the side glass enable you to see that the refrigerant gas is working optimally. Temperature sensor. If you your indoor unit, you see one small thing that look like a bulb in front of your AC evaporator. That small bulb actually works with your remote control. So each time you press your remote control to either increase or reduce the temperature, It is the sensor that is telling the expansion valve to close or open in relation to what you do with your remote control. It's an important thing. And thermostat is for you to add like Oga. You don't need to be getting up every time to go and press anything. You just sit far off and you show your people that you are in charge of that place. Then capacitor, your compressor also uses capacitor. Capacitor is an equipment that stores charges. Sometimes your compressor need higher current to get it started. So in putting capacitor there, the capacitor trying to... Hello? Is it break?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay, like how many minutes?
5 minutes, sir.
Okay, 5 minutes. No. Thank you. But please write down your question if you have.
Okay, let's continue, sir.
Uh, 5 minutes just now. Okay. So we'll go to the next. Hello, are we back?
Yes, sir.
Excuse me, sir. I
Yes?
think maybe you can click on these markings you made and try to delete them one after the other. If it's possible. Just click on them.
Can it be deleted?
Let's try. Just click on one.
That's what I'm doing now. It can't be done, I don't think. There must be a place to
Razor, yes.
Okay,
yes,
eraser. Okay.
It's the two you pick.
Yes.
Go and check, maybe you can get an eraser too.
There's a razor there separately. I hope eraser will not. Okay, I can see it is cleaning it now. Okay. This is not going to take the whole time. It's better than never now.
Yes.
Almost done. Almost done. Okay. I think we are good to go now.
Yes, sir.
It's better now. Okay. So we have been talking since. Some people will ask, but sir, I have split unit in my facility. I have a chiller system. I have VRF system. Some probably they have window units. But I tell you, every air conditioning system follow the same pattern. Every air conditioning system follow the same pattern. Don't forget, every AC has compressors. In bigger units, it might now be bigger or many. But in smaller units, it might be 2 or minimum of 1. Or minimum of 1. Then we now have a filtration system, which is always there in AC. The bigger ones has bigger size. The smaller one has the smaller size. The condenser too, because of the cooling load requires within the space. So the size demand for a bigger size, while a smaller place demand for a smaller one. So the same thing work out for them. So if you check here, the air conditioning is actually divided into non-ductable product and ductable. When I say non-ductable are the ones you have in your homes. You have in your office that you have the split unit with some copper pipe running outdoor to the outdoor unit. They are non-ductable. There's no duct. The AC itself is the one cooling. But the ductable units are more from the central system. You have a central place where the AC is the cooling is being generated. And it needs a means to take it to where it is required. So you now design what they call a duct. That is also a topic of its own. It's a ducting system that you use to convey the cooling, cool air into offices. In big buildings, you have them there. And it works exactly like pump and pipes in your building. You know, when you dig a borehole, the water is not actually needed at that point. What is needed? It is needed either in your tank or in separate houses. So what do? You now run pipes through the wall to your kitchen, through the wall to your bathroom, through the wall outdoor to location where you need it. So those pipes are now like the ducts that carry this cool air into space. So understand it clearly. So some problem with that one is that noise can be generated from it because it can whistle. Then there can be some mechanical moving objects transmitting noise through from the AC to the ducting unit. Then there can be condensate coming out from the duct if it is not properly insulated with a fiberglass. When you go to some offices, see water or brownish ceiling that mark out a straight line. So that can be condensate from AC duct. You understand? And under the duct, the non-ducted product, we have what they call the split unit, which I've explained is the one you have in your house. Then we have what they call the window units. The window unit is the one that you have everything together. You just break one wall, put burglary, then you install it. The window unit. This is the favorite for students that don't have money to, or some little offices that are just coming up. You understand? Then, but if you talk of bigger unit, then tends to go for this people type. But for young guys like us that are just starting life, this is more system that works with our budget. You understand? Then floor mounted units. The floor mounted unit, if you go to some event centers, you see them one big unit as tall as your height. Then you have one outdoor unit outside. You understand? Then I will show you pictures as I progress. Then we have the wall mounted unit. There are some units that are mounted in the wall. You understand? Then we have what they call the ceiling mounted unit. I think we will see more of them in the next page. This is the window units. I believe all of us must have seen this. If you check here, this is where your cool air comes out from. And this is where your return air, all the heat generated within your office comes out into. Your filter is always installed in this place. So once you want to remove the filter, just remove the outlets, the grills. Once you remove the grills, you seal the filter. So that is the one that does the filtration, and this one does the cooling. Then it has some electronics that you can press some button to regulate the temperature or even put it off. You understand? It's a plug and play thing. So I've already listed that. It's required by schools, some high institutions, hostels, hotel, residential apartments sometimes use it. Then some offices also make use of it. You see. Then these are the common type that most of us know. When I say the AC you use in your house, these are the ones I'm making reference to. You see, this one is the indoor unit. This one is always installed indoor. And this one is installed outdoor. You see the fan I was talking about? This fan here is called the evaporator fan. Then this one has its own fan inbuilt inside. Then on top of it is where the hot air comes in. Then just a little bit down here is where your cool air come into the space. You understand? This is exactly what I was saying. You see the outdoor unit, you see the space they left behind it. At no time should you install your AC close to this wall because you are not allowing ventilation. There must be space behind because if the hot air is going out, the cooler air comes to cool it. And as it's blowing out, please do not allow any obstruction to discharge of hot air. You might have a very fancy building designed by one of the best an architect, the best in Nigeria, best in the world. They might not put this little information I am giving to you into consideration. A lot of buildings are suffering from this deficiency. Why will you install AC and you block the front? Where do you expect the hot air to go to? And if the hot air does not go, if AC itself suck the hot air through it and shut the AC down, AC will not cool indoors until you break up the wall in front of it before your AC will work well. And if you see what I was telling you then, on top of this is the heat. How is heat generated indoor? From human being, electrical equipment, location of your building in relation to the sun. You understand? The enclosure, the sun, solar heat gain from your building, the kind of material that was used for your building, the kind of activities being carried out. There are some buildings that are the clap when they go to church from beginning to the end, while there are some church that sit all through. If you are designing AC for them, you need to consider the activities. If not, you go and carry the coolest one to those people are sitting and carry the one that will give heat to those that are clapping. You understand? So those things are factors that must be considered in selecting AC units. Though this course is maintenance, I'm already putting in some little things that you can use to talk while your boss are asking questions. Why is this AC not working? Probably it's oversized, probably it's undersized. You will have little ideas to talk. This is for split units. Split units are used in home, offices, school, higher institution. When I say higher institution, they're those that can afford it. You understand? One of them is going as high as 100 and something thousand now. The cheapest one might be brand you have not heard the name. You understand? The cheapest. When you go for Daikin, LG, Panasonic, you're spending 100,000 plus for your AC system. Then this is the KSS unit. They work exactly. This is the KSS unit. They work exactly like your split unit, but the design now differs. There are some people that will tell you, I don't want to see any AC. So if they say they don't want to see AC, that means you need to install the AC in your ceiling. That's why you see this thing here. You might ask a question, how does the AC discharge cooling? It discharge cooling through this opening here. All these things you are saying, they are controlled by a fan, a motor, electric motor, that turns them, open them, flap them open, close them, swing, and a close. This is the work of this. While the middle is for return air. All the air that are generated, heat that are generated within this space, they come back through this place. So the filter is installed here. So you can actually remove this thing from this angle, lower it, remove your filter. Only you, by yourself, you can wash the filter. Take it to your tap, remove all the dirt, or you pressure wash it, bring out the water from it, then dry it in the sun. So once the thing is fully dry, then you can install. Then here we have the ducted unit. These ducted units are very efficient and effective, but the problem you have with them is that you must put a duct in front of it. Sometimes the place it needs to distribute the air is far from where the unit is installed. So you need a duct to be put in. That means after paying maybe about 200 and something thousand to buy the unit, you still need to design a duct that might cost about 10 to 20% of the total cost of the AC in front of it. So you might want to consider this option. But for hotel, they prefer it because it's rugged, it can stand the test of time, and they work efficiently. This is another type, but this one they call it fan coil unit. The fan coil unit can either work with a outdoor unit or work with a chiller, depending on your design. If you see the way it works exactly like the ducted unit I've already told you now, then don't forget, most of there's something I didn't explain here. This KSS unit has a small pump inside of it because it there's water being generated while it's cooling, because where it's installed has heat, and where it's blowing out the cold air has cold. So when cold surface meets a warm place, a condensate forms there, so water drops there. So the pump that is installed there is to move water from a lower place to a higher place. So water will be pumped out through it. So if this pump get bad, be ready to start cleaning every time. The same thing with this. Anything that goes into your ceiling, you must take time to do your drain out of the building without dropping. If your drain is going to pass through the ceiling, be careful enough to include what they call armorless insulation, because if cold surface get in contact with warm surface, water will form on the surface of the pipe and it will start dropping on your ceiling. You understand me? So that is what I don't want. So you need to take all this information into consideration. Please don't forget that. Then the same thing I've explained now also happen here. They also have pumps. If you see this man here, is having something like a tray underneath. This tray is to collect water that is dropping. This one might not necessarily need a pump. All you need to do is to install your drain pipe in a way that it will slant away, slant a little bit slow, a little bit, let's say about 30, 40 degrees away from it, so that water will flow outward. If you install it and the pipe is higher than required, there will be backflow. And once there's a backflow, the tray will get filled up and water will be coming out from all the points around the units. They are very good. They work well. They use them mainly in hotels and in big organizations. Then we have another unit they call the package unit. A package unit incorporates all those components of AC. Hello, 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 can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, sir.
Okay, sorry, please.
Hello.
So, yes, okay, I'm on now. So the package unit actually incorporates the compressor, the condenser, the evaporator, and the rest. They incorporate it into one component. And in that incorporation, you see the way they installed it. They ensure that the hot part does not mix with the cold part. This one is for air delivery. Like this one that is showing this arrow at the top. You need to put ducted unit on top of it and channel it to where the cooling is required. Why the hot air is taken away from the building, because the heat you are removing from the building is not needed in the building. It needs to be taken out of the building. That's why you have what they call outdoor units. So if you are not having a package unit, you must design it in a way that the hot air is taken away from the building. It will not be wise for you to install this thing. You are cooling the same room and you are still discharging the same hot air in the same room. You are not cooling at all. Your work is more like effort in what? In fertility. So where do we see these things? They are bigger in size. So we can find them in mini supermarkets. Some of our wives and some of our moms that want to start some mini market within an environment that has bigger space. You know, how many split units will you want to put in a mini supermarket? It might be about 20. But why will you go for 20 when you know about 2 or 3 of these package units can handle it? So you incorporate this in a mini supermarket. If some shopping malls that are small, incorporate this also. Some schools also use it. I forgot to put banks. Banks also use this technology. Then we have hotels, then hostels, depending on the size of their pockets. Then theaters or cinema also make use of it, because why am I saying cinemas? They have bigger space. So you don't want to split unit lying up around the cinema. It defaces the structure of the building. You get my point? So you need something that is rugged, minimal, even sometimes 1 or 2 should be okay for a big cinema. Then when you talk of a stadium, you talk of a church like this Winner Church, Winner's Chapels, you talk about some Catholic church that are so big and massive. You talk of an event center that is so massive. If you want to enjoy chiller installation, you go to Dubai, where I've seen a stadium be air conditioned. And they are planning for the future to air condition a city. I don't know how that will be done, but they have equipment actually that can achieve it. Either putting about 3 to 10 of this can actually achieve, or using one of water cool system can actually achieve them. These are called the chiller system. They work exactly like your AC, but because of the capacity and the work they need to do, their sizes are what? Are bigger. And you can't put this indoors. They put them outdoors. There are 2 places your chillers must be installed, either on top of your building or inside your building if your structural capacity can carry the weight, or you put it on ground floor. But most people tend to put it on top of their building, because when you are having a mall or a bank, your space matters a lot to you, because your customer is going to come with their car, your MD is coming with your car, even you will come with your car. Where will you park? And we are putting chillers on the floor. So most companies like the one I've known, First Bank, Union Bank, Sterling Bank, Moby House around this place. Then you talk of GE, General Electric, some big company, noted company that have chiller system or VRS system. You see that they install on roof of their building. Then this is what they call the absorption chiller. Its mechanism is quite different from chiller system, but it cools. One of these, you can have one of them cools about 1,000 kilowatts. When I say 1,000 kilowatts, you can have 500 split units. What this man can do, 500 split units, you have to buy 500 split units to do what this man can do. And the beauty of it is that it works with your generator that actually work with this mechanism. So I've installed 2 of these in bath. They both 2 and they are very expensive. One of them costs between 100 million. That was then, so it's be a lot more now. So this is the latest that they use now. They call it the VRF system. The VRF system is called the variable refrigerant flow. In subsystem, you see what they call the VRV, the variable refrigerant volume. It's just the name. It is still the same principle. They look at the deficiency in split unit, the deficiency in your chiller system to put together this technology, putting in mind energy saving mechanism. Please don't forget, when you are buying AC, always consider what they call the EER. The EER is called the energy efficiency ratio. Very, very important. What am I saying? Gone are those days when we generate more, we don't care about what we generate. It is the output we consider. But some sensible engineers came together and said that, let us put our input and put our output. When you put your input at 100%, you are not gaining 100%. You have not done something extraordinary. You will be paying more for energy. The idea behind energy efficiency ratio is that you are putting more, maybe 50%. Your output is now give you 100 or 200% of what you are putting. Then they say that equipment is working efficiently. Don't forget, those of us that are engineers inside in the house, there's what the engineers will talk about in thermodynamic, perpetual motion machine. Engineers are looking forward to generate a machine that will not displace heat, that will give you maximum efficiency. You know, when you generate fuel, the fuel is supposed to work 100%. Due to displacing of heat, smoke, and the rest, the efficiency of the machine might be 50%. It will not give you optimum, but they are looking forward to generate. If they put 100%, they should get 100% result. But I don't know how that will be achieved. You understand me? The same technology or terminology was incorporated into this because energy matters a lot. Some building, as I speak to you, they pay more for energy. In as much as we say we need AC, we need air conditioning, we need the system, they go with a higher cost, either for maintenance or for parts or for energy you pay to NEPA or PACN. You generate more energy to keep them running. A bank that has only one customer and you are owning a chiller that you bought for 50 million, they are going to buy a bigger generator to run it. You are going to buy diesel to run it. In my facility on the island, I maintained some years back, a year between NEPA and generator, we spend nothing less than 30 million annually to run our generator, inclusive of adding ACs and the rest. Your work as a technician is to go in there, identify these areas and find how to reduce costs. That is when you bring value to what? Your organization. If you don't do that, you are not doing well as an engineer. You are not doing well as a facility manager. You are not doing well. Energy efficiency must be incorporated in any selection of equipment that you are proposing. So VRF offers such technology, but it comes with its own wahala. Why I say it comes with its own wahala? You see this outdoor unit, very compact, small, work well and the rest. If you go to the back, you might see up to about 4 to 5 compressors. They were designed in a way that if the return air is coming, at 12 degrees, and they see that the 12 degree is what is coming, the system itself reduces the temperature of what is supplying in by shutting down 1 or 2 compressors. Let me explain to you. If you consider energy, you run this AC in your facility. In order to run it annually, you are spending close to about 5 million to run it. And you now look at it. What if I shut down the compressor? I put a thermostat to control it that if it's getting hotter, it should pick up work, cool the place, then shut down again. Instead of you spending 5 million, you end up spending 2.5 million for a year. You have saved costs for your company. So what they have incorporated into it is that if the temperature coming back to the unit is higher than the temperature that is going into the building, the system senses this significant difference in it, thereby telling the other compressor that shut down, please, I need you to start working now. We need to cool the indoor more. So it start up other compressors and they cool it more until the temperature difference of going out and coming in are very close. And if they are close, it will now start shutting down some other compressors, automatically reducing cost of operation over time. Then it can also work with varieties of indoor units. It works with a silicon seal unit. It works with a window unit. It works with a high wall unit. It works with a standing unit. It works with a ducted unit. It works with a fan coil unit. It works with varieties just within your building. And don't forget, they have one source of what? Copper connecting them. So the only disadvantage of using this system, where you get an incompetent person to install, because once there's a leakage in one point, it affects the whole system. So the whole building will be without AC. So you must get your installation correctly at the beginning for you to enjoy the beauty of this technology. We also have other types of HVAC systems not listed in this presentation, but are used in various sectors. Have you ever asked what type of AC are used in a submarine? I believe we know a submarine, those ships that goes deep inside water. Then what of the type of AC that are used in ships that stays about 1 month, 2 months on sea? Their design is different from the ACs you have at home. Don't forget, the environment in the sea are very corrosive. They are full of salt. So each time the ship move, water tends to flash on the unit, they put outlaws and the rest. So corrosion is faster. So they treat this unit with some chemicals to ensure that they are resistant to this harsh environment they are working. In the plane also, they have different kind of AC that work there. You can't tell me to go and put a split unit in a plane. So when it has problem, I will tell one of the pilots, oh yeah, go and check the outdoor unit. Inside the plane flying, it's not possible. So there's another form of cooling that was introduced into it. What of our rocket that takes our satellite to space? What are the kind of AC that is being used in it to ensure people or things they are carrying there are very cool? So you might think this a lot. Facility entails a whole lot of things, not just a building. It is a structure that people are in, process is being taking place at a particular place. So those things must be considered. So you now design your program to adapt to the present system. Then how do we maintain this air conditioning system? Most of the AC listed above have similar basic components which I have listed before. And these are one of the compressors and how it looks like. And the type of compressor, depending on the kind of work they want to do, we have the positive displacement, we have the dynamic, where we have centrifugal, axial, we have reciprocating, rotary, and so many other compressors. So, and this information is actually needed by those that are doing design. If you know that you want to design for a rugged environment, they can decide to pick any of these things and incorporate into it. If it is for a chiller, they have the kind of compressor that works with a chiller. If it is for a water-cooled chiller, they have what works for it. So they pick one of these things, but take cognizance that your compressor works exactly like a human heart. Then why compressor go bad? Low refrigerant charge. If your compressor is not properly charged, it can damage the compressor. Poor ventilation, you install in an environment that is choked, it can't work well. Block suction line. Once your suction line is blocked, refrigerant gas is supposed to be entering because the compressor has something that is rotating in it, increasing the pressure and temperature, like I explained before, that can affect a poor power supply. This one, our country is one of the problems of our AC in Nigeria. So you need to take cognizance to ensure that your company, your facility are insulated by buying protective equipment like the AVR or AVS, or you have a panel that your equipment are protected. When it senses any slight variation in voltage, it shut all your equipment down. Or better still, if you can afford it, you run on generator. Generator is not known to have high voltage or low voltage, unless the generator is almost getting to its life, is running at its life expectancy. You understand? So if it's running maybe 20 years, 30 years, you are still using generator, expect what is happening to Nigeria to happen to that generator. You get my point? Then poor or bad installation. When you carry somebody that does not have the knowledge of how to install AC, they can put the wrong refrigerant in your refrigerant gas. Don't forget, at no time should you use R22 refrigerant gas in R20 AC. Don't mix it. It's like you carrying a petrol engine and putting it in a diesel car. You know, there are some vehicles that run on diesel, there are some vehicles that run on petrol. Don't ever interchange their engine. They are not meant to work. Or you go and put a petrol in a diesel engine. It doesn't make sense. So you need to be very careful to get people that knows about the job. Then factory problem. Some ACs come with some factory defects. So if you buy from a reliable place, that can be worked out for you, and your product is under warranty, 6 months or 1 year, it can be returned back to you. Bad capacitor can also affect the functionality of your compressor. If the capacitor is bad, your compressor will not start. Then I give you a clue. Some of your technicians can play the chief engineer on site on you if you don't know. Because sometimes if capacitor goes bad, most people always think it's compressor. And capacitor, the price is less than 5,000 in the market, depending on size and capacity. They will tell you it's compressor that is bad. A compressor is between 50 or 70,000. You want to buy maybe fake one, the one that they sell in the market. You understand what I mean? Then another one is a wrong pipe size. If you use the wrong pipe size, hello, I hope I'm communicating. Hello?
Yes, yes, yes.
Yes, if you use the wrong pipe size, it can also affect your AC. In every manual of your AC, there's AC. Ensure you use it. If it is quarter pipe, quarter, that is 1/4. Quarter pipe, you buy. If it is half-inch pipe, ensure it's half-inch. If it is 3/4, ensure you use 3/4. Don't ever mix the coppers together because you overwork the compressor or you underwork the compressor. Solution, ensure the refrigerant is within required standard. Every refrigerant pumped into a compressor have a particular requirement bar that they must follow for them to work. Then provide good ventilation, that's what you have. Then clear suction line, clear the suction line, let there not be any blockage. Ensure good power supply and install an AVS. Then good installation, ensure your products have warranty. Don't go and buy something because it's cheaper, because most cheap things don't come with warranty. And if they have issues, it can be replaced. You have to buy another AC. The company you are running from, you still end up going to buy from them. Install good capacitor. Capacitor are measured in microfarad. A microfarad. So if a 30 microfarad of capacitor is bad, make sure you buy that 30 farad to change it. And you can carry the sample of the bad one to the market. I think in Brunei Way, you have a lot of air conditioning repairs, parts, and the rest along that place. So that you have good place where you can buy this equipment, you understand? Therefore, bad compressor, bad capacitor, they have an equipment to actually test for bad capacitor. Because once something is giving you 30, when you measure it, it's giving you 10. Know that it cannot serve the purpose to which it was designed for. So you need to replace. So in replacing, make sure you put back 30. If it is 20, use 20. If it is 10, use 10. But measure first. Use the right pipe size. Then this is our condenser. So if you open the condenser unit, this is how the indoors look like. You see all these things, there are all this line that goes curved like this are copper coil, and those ones that look like gray are aluminum fin. The essence of aluminum fin is for effective heat exchange. Then this fan is for discharging of hot air out of it. If it fails to work and the rest things are working, the system itself will shut down. These are your compressor well packaged in this particular place. You see, electrical component connected, and this is what your capacitor at this point. So this your capacitor is linked directly to this man. So what the work of capacitor is to energize the compressor when it is starting up. It needed a higher energy to energize it while it's working. So if the capacitor is not there, it will not get, the compressor will not have enough energy to start itself. You understand? So it will not be. So what you need to do is to buy an equipment that can measure this capacitance on site. Once you can measure it, anyone that is bad, your technician will not come and tell you it is compressor that is bad. In the process, you save money for your company. So common problem with condenser coil are block coil. Like I told you, don't install in a dusty environment or places where flood can get to. Always put them on top of a slab, or better still, on top of their irons, the hanger they call them. Poor installation can also affect leaked coil. Sometimes when there's a rupture on your copper coil, all the refrigerant gas within the fan, within the AC will leak out. And if there's no refrigerant, you cannot get any cooling until you identify that location and seal it. How do you identify? You either use an equipment that is a gas leak, refrigerant gas leak equipment, or gas leaking detecting equipment to put around the case. If you detect a leakage, you will hear some sound from the unit telling you this is the location of the leakage. Another one you can also use is soap water. That one we also use it for tire. So what it does now, anything that is pumping out air, once you put the soap water there, you see bubble forming around that particular location. You can tell your technician that is the location of the leakage. So what they need to do before they start brazing, you must do what? Pump down. Pump down is recovering all the refrigerant in the system into your compressor. Then you lock the compressor. So once you lock it, you can identify that location that you brace. But if it cannot be done, you need to recover all the refrigerant in the system. Once you finish recovering the refrigerant in the system, you identify the location, then you brace. And when you finish bracing, you must carry out what they call pressure testing with nitrogen. So when you pressure test with nitrogen and you keep the bar at 40 bar or 45 bar, depending on your parameters, after 24 hours, we ensure that the bar still remains at 40. If it is 40, you left it, it must be at 40. But once you discover that the bar has dropped from 40 to 35 bar, know there's still other leakage in that system. Don't ever put a refrigerant gas, because within 1 week or 2 weeks, you will still notice that the refrigerant you just filled in has leaked out. Solution: clear block coil with pressure washing machine. You can search that online. Ensure the fin are not bent. The aluminum coil too must not be bent. When I said that the aluminum fin is for effective heat exchange, means that it allows air to flow out of it uniformly. So if they are bent on the surface, as the air is coming in, they will be forced to bounce back into the unit, thereby causing problem for your unit. Poor installation, good installation will ensure that your AC is working optimally, then block any leakage. Explain that. Then your expansion valve, this is how it looks like, and this is how it works. I've explained to you, you see those small, tiny copper pipes are the one that actually receive all those pressure. It has a bulb that is connected somewhere, more like a type of sensor. A bulb is, once you connect it to a particular thing, it senses any difference and pass the messages down to this man to open more or close. At this point, so you see the point of inlet and you see the point of discharge. In the process of being, it has reduced what? The pressure of the system, thereby causing what? The refrigerating effect. So the problem that can happen to this is that all this inlet can actually be blocked. This can also be blocked. And if this is blocked, you will not see the result of cooling within the environment or within the place your AC is working. Until you remove and install another one, you cannot get it done. So that is the problem with expansion valve. Poor installation, poor phase change from compressor, then fake TSV. They are fake in the market also, so the solutions are written there. Then evaporator coil looks like this. The one you have in your indoor is more like this one. You see it? It works exactly like your outdoor unit, but it's designed for indoors. So it has aluminum fin, it has copper pipe, it has a fan just behind it. Then there are some sensors connected to it. So its own job is to ensure the cool air is delivered within your space. Then for bigger unit, this is how it looks like. And this is how the copper to look like. So if there's a leakage anywhere here, it can affect its function. If the filters are removed, with time, the evaporator coil will be blocked and cooling will not be given out. Then it also sweats. And when it sweats, there will be water droplet. It can cause condensate. It can stain your ceiling. It can cause mold to grow on your wall. So the installation has to be perfectly done before you can be free from the problem it will give. Block coil, low refrigerant, faulty fan, gas leaked from its coil, factory error. If there are some AC, you see then when you are pressing the remote control, they will be giving you one error code on its surface. Once they give you error code, go to your manual, search it out. If you cannot rectify it, I'll believe you. If the product is still under warranty, you take it back to get another one. Some ACs come with factory error right from the factory. So it takes somebody that is experienced to be able to detect it. If you cannot detect it, it now becomes your problem for life. So those are the solutions: clean or pressure wash the coil, ensure regular required refrigerant is in the unit. That is, must use R22 for R22 refrigerant gas, refrigerant coil. Don't use any other thing because the coil are designed to withstand a particular pressure, and different gas have different pressure. So if you go and put a high pressure gas in it, it can either rupture it or it leads to the malfunctioning of the compressor. Ensure the fan is working as required. Seal off the leaking gas, then make use of your warranty when you discover a faulty factory error. Then your filter, the filter ensure a cleaner air and improve, it's supposed to be the indoor air quality, that is IAQ. So this is how the filter look like in bigger ones. And this is how the filter for the ones in your house looks like or your office. So for the bigger ones, some of these might require 20 for bigger ones, but the same process is required. Then for filters, we have what they call disposable filter. That filter, once it is dirty, you throw away. That's why they call them disposable. Then we have HEPA filter. These filters are highly recommended for hospitals where microorganisms as minute can actually pass through. But this filter is designed to filter the air to 99.9%. So even microorganisms might not be able to sail through when you use HEPA filter. You understand it, but it's recommended. Why they use it more in hospital? There are some disease like tuberculosis, very communicable, that they can use the filter to control. So they have their own way of dealing with it. But in general, this is what you see. This one can clean the air to about 80 to 90% of dust within the environment. So in as much as you clean your office, you clean your home, you still need your AC to be on to remove some of the dust in air. So block filters, I've explained how block filters, when you don't maintain your filters for a long time, the filters become blocked. And if it's blocked, it affects the functionality of your AC. Poorly installed filter, if the filter is poorly installed, the evaporator will receive more of the dirt, will be part of the filtration system. And if that one is blocked, there's no cool air that passes. Low quality filter, don't use low quality filter. Low quality filter can either filter either 30 or 50%. 30 or 50% means all kinds of microorganisms can still pass through. And your rooms, your offices are closed, your homes are closed, windows are closed. You can even take in some bad microorganisms into yourself that can affect you at work. Using the wrong filter too can also be a problem. Solution is clearly stated there. Then water leakage. I've narrowly explained water leakage occurs when your drain is not properly installed well. Your drain is not properly installed, or you have a blockage in your drain. Sometimes some small rats will find their way into your drain, or cockroaches. They'll find your ways into your drain. So they will block the flow of water out of your building. Once they block that in, water begins to flow back into your office. I've seen a place where water is flowing like as if somebody was urinating in the building and the AC is working. And there are times that you see condensate. You see that the AC is dropping water, not from the condensate, or rather not from the pipe, but rather from the unit itself. Instead that the units have not been maintained for a long time, there are ice forming on the surface, or there's a point where the cool air and the hot air is meeting and water droplets is forming. So it will continue to draw continuously. Then structural defect in some cases, it may result in smell. It may result in mold on your wall, growth of algae, then backflow of water. These are problems identified with condensate or leakage. Then possible solution, good installation, proper installation of drain lines, then install drain exit away from gutters. There are sometimes your AC, everything is properly done, but you can perceive some foul smell within your building. What leads to this? It is the outlet of your AC from the drain was actually pumped to where you have a gutter. Like I explained initially from that, I explained under ventilation that this man, his intention was to give enough oxygen for those that walk within the space. But rather, he's taking the oxygen from outdoor where sockaways are installed and pumping it into this place, introducing smell into the environment. So these things also matters a lot when you are doing your AC installation, most especially in bigger units where you have chiller system, you have AHU, which one they call air handling units. So they are of importance for you to take notice that the proper areas of discharge or collection of fresh air is properly defined. Then these are some of the deficiency or poor maintenance. Ice will begin to form on your AC. You don't know the reason, but I can tell you poor maintenance, highly dusty environment can lead to all this, and probably low refrigerant gas also can lead to it. Then poor cooling, it can lead to compressor failure. Efficiency of the AC might be affected. So those are the solutions listed there. So your capacitor, I've explained the most important thing the capacitor does, so we'll just run through it. A capacitor is a commonly found electrical and electronic component in varieties of gadgets and equipment you see. In a nutshell, the capacitor regulates or provide enough juice, that is power, needed to certain part of the appliance to function well. And like I said, identify your compressor. If you want to start, it starts with a higher voltage. If you watch, when you are putting, a good example is your pressing iron. When you use your pressing iron with a small your small generator, what happens? You see that it draws light. So your compressor too, well, that's why some small generator cannot work with AC because of the high demands for current, starting current. So what you need to do is to support it with what? A capacitor. With that capacitor, it saves it from those things. So poor supply, fake capacitor, undersized capacitor. If a system is supposed to give us 30 UF and you are using 15 UF, it will not work. Then there's a capacitor that are fake or refurbished capacitor. Once you buy them, they will not work. Then undersized capacitor will not still work. Then solution, use a multimeter or check for capacity. It should be within the tolerance limit of the suggested MFD rating. There's a particular rating required for capacitor. Once you test and it's within that rating, know the capacitor is okay. And once it's off that particular value, the capacitor needs to be replaced. Then one other thing you can also use to detect is continuity. What happened to continuity? Continuity, law of continuity is that copper must be connected going without any break along the line. So continuity is that you put at one, will put your measuring device at one point, put the other one at one point, you hear a beeping sound or you see a value of 1. But once you don't see a value, that means there's a break in the copper pipe on particular line. So some people also use that continuity test to test for faulty capacitor, though it's not efficient. The capacitance is the best to test for faulty this thing. Then one care, you need to be careful too. When you remove your capacitor, do not use your hand directly to hold the pole of the capacitor. You can be electrocuted because there are still charges inside. So what people do, they use, you must wear your hand glove, use 2 iron to touch their set to ensure that the charges are discharged before you use your physical hand to start touching it. It can kill, most especially if it is a bigger capacitor. So we need to be very careful while working with it. Then click sound every time within the central unit. The AC motor makes a humming sound. Okay, you can read that one. Your own. Then what are the things you look out for when you want to buy an AC or HVAC unit? The brand of the air conditioning matters a lot. It matters. When you are going to the market, have a particular brand in mind. You can do your research on Google, but this is not a program for me to say this is the best. So some people will tell you Panasonic is the best, some will tell you Daikin, some will tell you Carrier, some will tell you this, but everybody know why it goes for each product. But do your market survey before going for a particular brand. Then always ensure the type of refrigerant that your systems are using. In Europe now, you can't use systems that have R22 because they have phased them out. But in Nigeria, we still use R22. So as the leader in your facility, you can recommend gradual replacement of all R22. Anyone that gets bad, replace with R410. So within 2, 3, 4 years, you might have finished replacing all the equipment within your building. Warranty period on your product too matters a lot. When you are going to the market to buy, ensure the company has warranty on their product. That means they are sure. Then one other thing you need to consider is energy efficiency ratio. I've mentioned that before. The input is lower and the maximum output is higher. So you consider this. And aesthetic of your design. You can't have a building as a Nikon building. Having a split unit around the building is not a good recommendation. Such building requires a central unit. Maybe they call you now as one of the team that they want to put air conditioning in Nigerian stadium. And you are recommending a split unit or a window unit for where? You want to buy up to 1,000 AC to install in the stadium? No, such goes for a central unit like chiller system, or you can design a VR system in different parts. You cannot divide the stadium into different sections. So it might be about 10 sections or 20 sections that will take care of the cooling required within that space. But there are parameters that you must consider when designing. This is another topic, very broad in design. Then one other thing you must consider is your budget. How much do you have? You go to the market, I want the chiller, I want this, I want that. And they tell you, say, sir, this chiller you are telling me about, the installation and everything is going to cost you 150 million. You will scream, 100 and what? So if you have enough money, fine. If you don't have, go for split unit that you can maintain. I think most buildings on the island too are shifting from central units to what? To split units. If you go to our bookshop house in CMS, you see it, window units, split unit flying over the whole building. It doesn't make the building fine, but that is what works for those people there. Maybe there's no money to maintain because it costs more to maintain chiller. Because for you to run chiller, you must buy a bigger gen and you must put diesel in that. So how much will you make in profit at the end? So most big companies are struggling with operation with the advent of this COVID-19. So you must look for what works for your company. You understand? Then the purpose of the AC design. Are you designing for a church? Are you designing for a mosque? Are you designing for a shopping mall? Are you designing for a theater? Are you designing for whichever you are designing for? You must consider the purpose of your design. And maintenance. Is it equipment that can be maintained by we or the installer? You must take those decisions. They matter a lot because you can't buy equipment worth 20 million and you carry it in the hand of somebody that does not know about the equipment, he will give more problem to you. Then is the HVAC part available in the market? Like I said, Nigeria does not produce anything unless you want to get them as Tokubo. If any part get bad, you have to travel to Europe or call them in Europe to a freight or use ship to bring them down to Nigeria for you to maintain. So why do people buy Toyota car in Nigeria, most especially in Lagos? Because the parts are readily what? Available. If the parts are not available, you go and buy one car that has Baba Ijesha name, you understand, or has a Juro name. And the motor now decide to break down on top mainland bridge. A mechanic can say, "Oga, this kind of motor I never seen it before. Where we go see this?" He come they ask you say, "Oga, where we go see the part by now?" You call mechanic, they ask you say, "Where you go see the part by?" That means you need to option the vehicle, or you keep it as a souvenir that I once used this vehicle. You understand? So part is a necessity in your decision making. Don't buy equipment that does not have parts in the market. I give you an example. My company bought some Mitsubishi ACs. They are selling ACs, one of the company I worked in the past. So we had power surge. There was no protective mechanism by the company because I just joined. So about 4 or 5 AC got burnt. So I was given a task to ensure that the AC came back. We went to Brunei where we started looking for parts. Took us a whole day, we could not find. Then it was one experienced man we met that said that this panel they use for Mitsubishi is old National. I don't know if we've heard National AC before. Old National. That is what the man picked. Changed some certain things there, and the AC picked up. And that was what saved us. Just imagine we do not see the man. It is for us to go and buy another AC. So those decisions you'll be faced tomorrow because you might have a boss that might not like you and is looking for your downfall. This opportunity for him to write query against you for your replacement. So you need to do auditing. I didn't mention this before. Auditing and conditional assessment of all your equipment before you take them over when you are maintaining the building. Let your client be aware of the condition of his building before you take them over. Once they are aware of the condition, your problem is half solved because he knows that he's part of the problem. But once you did not do it, you have been enjoying money for a long time, giving you service charge and the rest. When problem now comes, he will tell you, I did not know that this problem exists. And then the talk will be too long. You know how it ends. Then what are the possible, this thing is, sorry for that. I'm going forward. Okay. I can't see what is up there, but you guys can see this thing is disturbing. Can I carry? Let me see if I can carry. Okay, I can carry it. Okay. What are the possible causes of HVAC failure in a facility or building? After the narrowly mentioned part of this: poor installation, poor design, wrong HVAC system, over or undersized. When you say oversized, the equipment will work, but you are paying more for energy. And don't forget, your aim is to bring value to the company. When you over-design, it's a problem. Then when you under-design, the people are not getting the value of the equipment to install. Not taking into consideration the actual cooling load. Before you size AC for a big space, you need to do what they call cooling load. This is a full topic of its own. They have lists of formulas that you must understand. Somebody that is sitting has the energy you must consider. Somebody clapping, you have the energy you must consider. There are no redundant HVAC system in the server room. When you are designing for a server room, there's a redundant air conditioning system that is not being used that must be on ground. In case one fail up, in case one shut down, you on the other one to back it up and you repair immediately so that your server room or your data center does not experience any shutdown. Then poor duct installation, poor maintenance culture. Your company does not maintain. If they don't maintain, the day emergency will come, you will not believe it. Purpose of design is not clearly defined. You just did an AC, you don't know the purpose, it's always a problem. Sorry, I have to carry this again. No part available. So when you know, if you already have an understanding that this AC does not have power, please don't buy it. No considering power issue, 1 phase or 3 phase. Sometimes Nigerian can be very miraculous. If you can buy a generator that can give you 3 phase, sometimes you will have lights. There will not be light in 2 phase or 1 of the phase. An equipment that is built to run on 3 phase can never work when 1 of the phases is gone. You know that, those that are engineers in the house. So only those ones with single phase sometimes can work. But a 3 phase will ensure that it must be complete before it works. That's why you see that companies sometimes 100% depends on generator, even while then conditional assessment should audit of HVAC system. These are things that you must consider. You must look at the condition of your equipment when you are coming into the building, the status of your AC, when was it installed, what kind of refrigerant is it used, what are the maintenance program that is on ground. Then you list all these things. Once you have done all this, you are half solved your problem. Then you now discuss with your client and work out a modality that will be agreeable by both parties for you to start executing the maintenance plan. So conditional assessment, then audit must be carried out. Then these are action plans that must action taking place during preliminary audit, considering a list of energy conservation opportunity, flexibility needs for details, then activating details audit tasks. So these are things you must put in place to ensure that the building is effectively audited. Checking the envelope use and structure, visual inspection plan, visual inspect the plant, check for the presence of and that is operational and maintenance activities and contract. Sometimes you need to look at the contract. The contract might say every 6 months for maintenance. You already have an idea it's quarterly. So if it is 6 months, you need to change it to 3 months. You need to change it by a quarter, that is every 4 months. You understand, to make your work easier. So there's some other list that you need to go through. Then steps required for carrying out an audit. Gather building design data, visit site, definition of profitable solution and action, and reporting. So you need to define what is your aim for carrying out the audit. Then is there profit to be made out of the solution you are proposing, and what are the action plans? Ensure that your report is given to both parties with record. Then another thing you might want to consider for your AC facility is a checklist. If you have an employee, an AC technician on site, prepare an HVAC checklist for him that he must check every morning about the condition of your AC. Check it if the noise is much, check if it is working properly, is the thermostat working, are the batteries okay, is the sensors working, is this one working? You check out all the lists. So once the list is checked, you ensure before any problem comes up, your technician will have told you through his list, whether good, better, or best, he will tell you. Then you can also create a point where you have bad. Once it's bad, it can give condition of bad, whether there's too much noise, whether the capacitor is not working, all those things can be stated. So you take your action immediately. Before your client comes out, you already told them what the problem is. Then plan preventive maintenance. We already talked about this above before. So plan preventive maintenance allow you to substantially reduce reactive maintenance and retain your building and asset at a desired level of quality. Time-based preventive maintenance is based on a fixed execution frequency of activities that generate a calendar. I think I put maintenance strategy. We've talked about this before. Then this is an example of a maintenance plan. So if you know how to use Excel sheet, these are what you do. You list out the equipment on your Excel sheet. Maintenance tasks, you list it out. If it is AC, you create a portion for AC. You list all the things you must do on your AC. Are you getting my point? Then prepared by, who is supposed to do it? Your technician on site, you list their name. If it is electrical equipment, so you list it under it. Then time spent, you list it there. Then you do the frequency. All this one you see there are the frequency of execution. Maybe if you check this one today, it might be next week before you check another one. So you follow this pattern to do it. While some company that cannot do this, they go and buy a software that they program all their maintenance program. The software give you a lot on your phone or via your email, even tell the company to come and do inspection or maintain the equipment. So those are things that you can put into consideration to ensure you are working what optimally. Then don't forget, how do heat get into the environment? I've explained this through human being activities, electrical equipment, the kind of materials used for your building structures, and the rest. Then human electrical equipment, lighting system, solar heating, location of activity carried out within the space. We talk about AC installation tip. Strength of wall to hold your AC. When you want to install the AC, don't go and install the AC. Then you come the next day, the AC is on top of the table. We have gone out once, we discovered an outdoor unit actually fell from 3rd floor and smashed a vehicle. It happened overnight. And this is a place people frequently pass. It didn't happen during the day, it happened overnight. It fell from 3rd floor and smashed a vehicle on the ground floor. Thank God nobody was injured. You need to test the strength of your wall before you put your AC. If you live in an environment where the walls, you give them just one blow, you will see that your hand has gone into the wall. Please don't install your AC there. Please, you can find another location for it. Then proper spacing between your wall and AC. You need to give proper spacing for your outdoor unit. I've explained this one before. Appropriate installation height from ground. There's a standard height required from indoor and outdoor unit. Please take note, maximum 15 meters. Between 12, 15 meters from indoor to outdoor unit. If you are now going to 20 meters, the efficiency of your AC will reduce. So the other thing you can do, if you are using a 1 horsepower, you can either go for 1.5 or 2 horsepower to further boost the cooling required within the space. Then correct tint angle for your indoor units. Indoor units, sometimes, if you don't tint it to a particular angle, your drain will not flow well. There will be backflow. Correct location of your outdoor, you put your outdoor unit in a location where it can get enough air, cool air, to cool it. Proper placement of outdoor unit, very important. Right distance between indoor and outdoor units must be guaranteed. Use the proper electrical cable. I have said use Nigerian cable, no China cables. Use 15 amp plug and above. Do proper vacuuming of your AC system. When you are installing your AC for especially split units, there's what they call vacuuming. Vacuuming means removing every gas within the copper line. That is the suction line, the hot line, and the cool line. Once you finish removing it, then you can charge with what the required refrigerant for the AC to pick up. Ensure there's no leakage in your AC while you're installing. Then use proper refrigerant gas. If this is R410, use R410. Ensure thermostat are installed, supposed to be installed on the unit. Then outdoor unit installation in walls and on rooftop. On rooftop, you see a standard way of installation. Then you see this man doing installation with copper pipes running with precision on a straight line. This is a standard installation. Most buildings we have in Nigeria, you see the copper pipe dangling around the wall. People don't care about what happened outdoor. But if it will add a value to your property, a space you are letting out, you must do things in a proper way. So that when you are charging 50,000 per meter square, 100,000, 250,000 per meter square, your client will be joyful to pay for it. Then this is another installation on roof. This one might be a more. Installing split unit, you see the spacing that is required. AC installation, the rooftop for different tenants or occupants. Then this is a still. This unit was one of the units I installed about 8-7 years back in Bath, in Ibadan. This is a car. Now, when I was working with Mandela's then, I installed this. You see that the AC were actually elevated on a brick platform, and under it, we must put a vibrating pad at different points. Since it's this long, you might be advised to put at 3 points on this. You put a vibrating pad here, put in the middle, and put at the extreme. The vibrating pad is to stop vibration from the unit to the finished base. So because if two solid hit themselves frequently, there will be tears, and there will be tears in either of this. Either the the base is giving way, or some of the components here will start giving issues and it can affect. Then this is a standard installation of outdoor unit, which is a VRS system. In this, why these are closed is because the hot air is actually discharged from the top, while the cool air is sucked through this particular point you are seeing, while the hot air is discharged upwards. So we don't have problem bringing them together. Then these are the breakdown for your indoor and outdoor units. You see all this thing here? They use spanner to open this. Then you now use your Allen key to either open or lock the refrigerant gas when you open these two. Then you can open, you can charge, you can come down, you can do anything from here. Then this is a manifold gauge. A manifold gauge is used to check the pressure within the system. This manifold gauge can tell you the condition of your AC, if it is working well or not working well. Then ventilation, I think I've explained this one too at the beginning. Ventilation is a process by which clean air, normally outdoor air, is intentionally provided to a space and stale air is removed. This may be accomplished by either natural or mechanical means. So you can read the second definition by yourself. The essence of ventilation, now, if you check your house, if if you come into your house from work, the windows are closed, the doors are closed, you be surprised when you sit within 2-3 minutes, you start sweating. Why are you sweating? Is because there's no ventilation. So what we do normally, unconsciously, is to open our windows or open our door or go out. But if you live in an environment that there's a lot of mosquito, I won't advise you to open your door. You understand? Because you are going to create another problem for yourself through going to see the doctor for malaria treatment. So I would advise you can stay outdoor, you understand, to ensure that it's properly covered. Then ventilation can also take care of air movement within your building. It can also be used to control the movement of fire. You can use air pressure ventilation system through mechanical means to control how fire move in a building. If there's a building, if there's a fire within a flat, you can actually shut, because for fire to come up, you need oxygen. And if ventilation is bringing oxygen, once you shut it down, it can reduce fire coming to that floor. Then this is how a fan looks like in a bigger chiller system. That is air handling unit. Then this is an example of air handling units. This is how the arrangement is. Here, the OA is what they call the outdoor air. The RA is the return air. Outdoor air is coming from outside. When they say outdoor, it's bringing out oxygen. No human being can survive without oxygen. The return air is the air that picks up heat within an enclosed place that is coming back here. So a mixing bus is where the outdoor air and this return air mix and pass through this heating equipment, pass through this cooling equipment. Once it passes through these two stages, it's ready for distribution. The fan actually energizes the air and blow them through duct to the required space within the building. Then, okay, I've explained them. In the kitchen to remove smoke or smell, needed in toilet to remove smell, needed in supply fresh air within the space. Sometimes some buildings are built without fresh air units. So once you have an equipment, there's an equipment that can measure fresh air within space. Once you have that equipment, it will tell you the level of oxygen in that space. If the oxygen is not sufficient, it's going to affect productivity, because people will keep getting up to say, I want to go and take fresh air outdoors. Or they will be forced to open windows for fresh air to come in. In order to avoid that, what you do is to allow fresh air to come in through a mechanical ways, through introducing of fresh air units. Then different kind of air, I've explained it. We have supply air, return air, exhaust air, and outdoor air. Then this is more like a heat recovery equipment. All those air I've mentioned are listed here. So I will explain. Return air is the one coming from the space that pick up heat from different places. Then fresh air is the one going into the space that have been picked from outdoor units. This air was picked from outside, going in. Then the return air is also coming here, going out here. There are some smell that is generated within your space. Body odor, clothes that are smelling, all kinds of things that is being taken out of the building. So this equipment actually handles it. A standard building, always incorporate this in their building. Most buildings don't have this in Nigeria, so it's not bad if you open your windows anyway. But this is a standard air handling unit installed in the building. You can condition the weather in your building through this equipment. Then AAC components. So I've listed the components here. They have filters, heating coil, cooling coil, fan for air distribution, economizer, heat recovery, then panel buses. All have their function, but what you need to focus more on these things are the filter, the coil, the panel bus is just normal clean, then the fan, because the fan can get bad. So you need to protect the fan. Either they have this direct online connection they do for fan, for those that are electrical, you need to protect it. Because if you generate the cooling, the fan cannot deliver. Then I think that is a handshake. I think I'm done. Hello?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
I think I'm done. Please, your questions should come in. Please just signify, then you can ask your question, please.
Hello.
Hello, sir.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening. I can hear you.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. A0. Am I right?
Yes, yes. You can also put engineer in front. You can put engineer in front.
Yes, it's double engineer. I really, yes, I must really commend you. Even though I have no idea of this initially, we just use it and know that we enjoy the AC. When it stops working, we leave it. Whatever happens to it, we don't care. I must tell you, you really open our minds, especially myself, to the use and also the maintenance, even though we are not.
I don't know if they were organized for the practical section. If they would do
course,
that,
I think that's where I'm going. Yes, that's
okay.
That's what I want to add. Then, in addition to that, I have where I stay. This my landlord. He has two ACs.
Okay.
I know before now, Mr. Erubami has also told us how to economize our energy. When you are leaving the room, you are leaving the place, you switch off things like that. But outside that, he kept his AC on. Once there is no power, the AC are left on. Once power comes, the AC will start working, even when
it's not
in the house.
It's wrong.
Yes, because at times he's away from morning till night, and the AC will be on till he comes back. And where is the landlord? And when I asked him, he said he wants his room to be cool before he comes in. So what are the necessary effects of this?
One thing, there's one I experienced in Maryland. It was the son, they actually traveled. They left their mother with their baby in the house. So she too, I think she briefly went to buy some things. So they brought lights. Within some few minutes, and they are staying at the top part, I think it's a two-story building. Fire started coming out from the AC. The child was inside the house. The mother went to buy things. The parents of the child were not home. So it was serious. And not living on the roof parts, the third floor, you are close to the building. So the thing entered into building, started spreading to the neighbors. So what explanation will you give? You know, human attitude is what is difficult to control. Even if you put all these mechanisms in place, humans seems to be very complex to control. Even where you tell them this is the right thing to do, they will tell you this is what I want to do. The room will still cool when you come back and on the AC. You understand? It will still cool. This has to do with attitude. And since it's the owner of the building, you don't want to lose your tenantship. So you have to be very wise in discussing such with you. But sincerely, it's wrong. If you have a general meeting, you can bring up issues where AC has set building on fire. Bring one or two things to him. Or if you guys are on a general WhatsApp, you can just do a screenshot of what happened and what the AC did, forward to people, not mentioning name. I think you will read it, you will understand the message you are trying to pass. But human being cannot be controlled. But the equipment can be controlled.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much. Any question? I'm waiting for other questions.
Okay. Hello, sir. I was actually raising my hand.
I can't see you. Sorry. I can't see you from here, but go ahead with your question.
All right, sir. Okay, I'll start with some clarifications based on something you have said already.
Okay.
Yeah, you mentioned something about 45 degrees Celsius to 50 degrees Celsius, talking about external. So I didn't get that clearly.
What I wanted to say is that from that, we have 180 straight line for your drain line. So what I mean is that you bend it a little, maybe even 30 might be more, a little bit of 10, 15 degrees slant will cause a flow of water.
Okay, degree.
That is for your drain pipes. Because if you don't slant it a little, drain pipe for your AC, because your AC is sweat. So if you don't slant it, there's every tendency there will be backflow. And if there's a backflow, water will be.
Okay.
Any other one?
Right. Yes, I get that. Then you're talking about the gas refrigerant.
Yes.
You mentioned R22, 410. You mentioned R20.
No. There's no R20. R134A 407.
134A. Okay, and 407.
Yes.
Okay.
There are many other types. So there are many other types. There are some using
major common
refrigeration.
ones, at least. Okay. The major ones for basically our split and probably the window unit and all of that. So these are the basic ones.
Yes, the basic one. So what they do for the units is that when you want to buy on the body of the unit, the refrigerant type is always written there, R22 or R410. So you don't need to mix it.
Okay. Yes, I noticed that. So you are recommending that we go more for 410.
Yes, 410 is not the best. Let me just give you a small history. The ozone layer is being depleted. The world is getting warmer. And if you go to the polar region, ice are getting melted. So they are flowing into land. And as they are flowing into land, areas that have not seen flood before have started experiencing flood. In history, they've never experienced it. So people now look at the causes. They now discover that we are producing gases, most especially from refrigerants and some harmful gases from our companies that we are pumping into the environment is actually eating up the ozone layer. And the ozone layer in chemistry is 0.3. Is designed to prevent us from excessive heat or solar ray coming from the sun. So each time you heat it up, you allow more rays to come into the world. And if it comes into the body, the world is heating up. You understand? They were able to identify R22 is not compliant to global warming and greenhouse effect. So they tend to rule it out from production. In Europe, it has been Africa, India, and China. I don't think they've been phased out yet. You understand? So they are the ones that sell to us.
Yes,
so R410 is good in global warming, but not too good in greenhouse effect. They have numbers they give them, but it's better than R22 that is recording 100% damaging of both areas. They have a green, they have a global warming potentials and green gas effects. They will give them a percentage. So R410 seems to be best. But in the market now, they have R32, which seems to be very okay. Each time they discover a refrigerant, the refrigerating effect remains reduced. The older one seems to be better, but they destroy the environment. Take note.
Okay. All right.
No, next.
But for now, that's what we have.
Right. Yes, that is what we have. R22, R32, R32. They are recent refrigerants.
Okay.
R32 too.
Okay,
yes.
R32. Okay.
All
right. Okay, so
well done, Mr. Ejiro. Thank you so much.
Okay, I'm free on,
sir. Sir, let the other guy finish. You still have one question, sir. Is that Mr. Anthony speaking? Go ahead, I'm listening. The other guy that was
Okay,
talking
okay,
before.
sir. Yeah,
He's
yes.
snappy. There are other
If
people
you could-
raising their hand.
Yes, I'm trying to do that. So you also mentioned something about the spacing for outdoor units. Is that 0.2 meters? I just want to clarify
Yes,
that.
that is
Okay,
200
that-
cm at the back to the wall.
Okay, to the wall. Look at the back to
Yes,
the wall.
yes.
Okay,
From the front,
okay.
maximum of 1,000 cm. That is 1 meters in front, maximum.
Okay, in front, maximum.
Yes.
Okay. So talking about this socket for the AC, 15 amps, but there are some
Yes,
that
15
come
amps.
with 13
Okay,
from the
remove it and
manufacturer.
remove it, put 15 amps.
Okay,
It's
but
not
switches
safe.
are okay.
Eh? You
The
need
switches
to now
are-
check. No, you need to now check your electrical installation, the cable size. You know, the AC goes with different cable size. The minimum is 2.5 mm square.
2.5. Okay.
Please, you ensure that 2.5 is run to your DP, and your DP, where you connect it, to check the rating for your breaker.
Okay.
Check the rating so that the rating will be able to carry the AC load when light comes in.
Okay.
No,
Okay. All right, sir. So I think the last one. How often do you recommend a change of AC? That they're generally split anyway.
One, it depends on
For
usage.
average use. Yes, for average use.
Maximum 10 years. After 10 years, the company should be making ready to change. Some, if they maintain well, they can take 15 years.
Okay.
If it is not properly maintained, you can change within 2 years. If it's not properly maintained, because it will shut down.
Okay. How about the one that work 24/7?
24/7. Maintenance is still the culture. Once you maintain well, your equipment will be working optimally, just like your car.
Okay.
If you don't maintain your car, it will mess you up.
All right, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Next.
Okay, so good, well done, sir.
Yes.
Please, not to waste our time, I want to ask, how do you determine the right capacity of a split, or let me say an AC for a particular space? I know there is a formula or something, but
there's
I
a
don't know.
calculation for it. There's a calculation for it. There's a software for it. Then that software comes with a lot of work. There's also the lazy man formula. They call the rule of thumb. So take down. You can use it. It works sometimes, but most time it doesn't consider a lot of things. Rule of thumb: always take 0.1 kilowatts per meter square. Please take note. 0.18 kilowatts per meter square. So if the per meter square, that is per meter square, the area of the space, if the space you have to cool is about 10 meters square, that 10 multiplied by 0.81 means you are going to use what? 1.8 kilowatts of AC. So if 1.8 kilowatts is not in the market, go for 2 kilowatts of AC.
Okay. Thank you very much.
That is the rule of that is just the rule of thumb. Don't go and use it for a stadium. It's different though.
You also concern how much exposure do you have to sun, and then how often maybe people going in the traffic also.
For me, if I want to design now, if I see that a lot of people within that place, I can increase that 0.18 to 0.3 because of experience. So there are some certain things I consider: the location of the sun, and if the place is built with glass. I consider that if it is built with, if it is a container that you want to use AC in, you need to ensure that you build a wooden structure inside to prevent excessive heat, then run your AC directly within that space to reduce heat. Okay, you understand? So there are a lot of measures I put in place, but it's very wild. Why it's a topic of its own. This textbook will be up to 500 pages.
Okay, thank you so much. Then, second question I want to ask, I've seen some refrigerator. I know you are not dealing with refrigerator, but we know AC and refrigerator work similarly.
Yes.
So why do we have some that we have their compressor, their condenser covered, sealed at the back? It's like as if it's covered. You don't see the ducts.
I understand what you are saying. I think what they try to utilize there is that the cooling of your food is more important than the space, because the place they put the condenser, the coil you talk about that are sealed or placed outside, they don't actually need the heat, and the heat is discharging is little compared to what your AC is discharging. And they also have technology that dissipates little heat and give maximum cooling within the refrigerator. So those things they use to insulate them, absorb those heat, find a way of cooling them more than the old refrigerator that we have. Yes.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
And don't forget, AC and air conditioning system are two different things. They might be brothers, but they are different. Refrigeration is for process, while air conditioning is for comfort. When I say process, your food, manufacturing sector, you want to preserve some drugs. You remember the vaccine they produce, Pfizer, Brazil. They say you have to keep it at a particular temperature. It's a refrigerator you need for it, not AC. So they are different things. So you understand? No wahala.
Then for between the chiller system and the VRV, I'm looking at the two types. Okay, let me just pick any one of the two. Compared to the VRV, which one is more energy efficient?
VRV is more energy. Though some chiller system now, they are incorporating energy efficiency in them. You know, there's a company that produces energy efficiency, produce all this technology. And for VRV, it was incorporated into it. So the people that produce chiller, they don't want to lose the market. So they need to find technology to drive what people are looking out for. So the new chiller you have now, they have energy efficiency incorporated. But VRV have it from inception.
Inception, okay. So, but in terms of capacity, do we have the limit to which VRV can do compared to the chiller?
Chiller, for a stadium now, chiller is more preferred. If I'm using about 5 to 7 chiller in a stadium, for VRV, it might be more, but they will work. Okay. It might be more. So it is your design that will determine. They have chiller that can cool up to 20,000 kilowatts. 20,000 kilowatts of cooling. So when you finally design your load, maybe it's about 100,000 kilowatts, you now divide your design cooling by the capacity of the chiller you want to use. That will now give you the number you require. Then you can now distribute them. Maybe one will be in the north, one will be in the south, one will be in the west within the stadium for effective distribution. So like I said, it's a different topic entirely, but chiller seems to be effective on bigger units and cost effective. When you have a stadium, you know, people pay a lot of money to come in, so you can recover your money on time. But when you are talking for space management within your space and you still require enough cooling, VRF can be used also. So it's based on experience, choice, and budget.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
No,
any other question, but just let me give others.
Yeah, there's no lady answering question here.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening,
Yeah, this is a well thought out lecture. I've attended a lot of lectures on AC, but I've never seen it this simplified and straight to the point.
You will have enjoyed it more if I was in the class, so they will have told you about that. I love to do. I even teach you design too. I teach you a lot of things.
That is where I'm actually going to. Okay. As a facility manager, we are supposed to make inputs during every design stage of our projects.
Yeah.
And in terms of AC, those are the areas. This is one area that FM can really cut costs in terms of energy saving and in the design. So as an FM, you cannot just go and go to an open space. I don't recommend AC blindly.
At
all. You have to do a kind of design.
Definitely.
So that's why I'm going to, at least if you can, there's a way we can understand that design aspect of this AC, you know, so that we can understand a little bit on it. So we can impress management by actually designing in space and telling them we need 3 AC here, we need 4 AC here, we need 2 AC here, instead of recommending blindly.
For that design, no, I just explained that it takes a lot of energy to do that, and it's going to be another class, and the class will be longer than this one I just took. So there's a software they call Power Analysis Program by Carrier. You see, our analysis program, the software, about 5 years ago, they sell it for $1,500. The software. It's big. It says, if you know the design, just you know your company of your own. These are things I was trained in. These are things I use. You understand? Yeah. So if you want a class, I'm dropping my number now. We can talk after this. Okay. But this is beyond the scope of this class anyway. There's no formula I can give you that can reduce anything. But what you can do when you are sizing for a smaller space that you are considering people, you can use more of the rule of thumb I told you. If you know the area of that place, just multiply it by 0.3 or 0.25 or 0.18, depending. Okay. Why I say 0.3, the area you are designing for might be the location where sun rises and the place is built with glasses. Don't forget, when you leave your car under the sun, there is more heat generated than when you leave it under the car. So there are two different designs. So you need to consider a lot of things while doing your cooling load. Because I see some people say, 1 horsepower will be okay, 2 horsepower will be okay. Because as you are doing that, don't forget, your decision is also affecting energy consumption.
Yes.
You understand? Because if you say 1 horsepower, yeah, and actually 0.5 horsepower can actually do that, you are paying more for energy.
Yeah.
Then one other thing I can also teach facility manager is that you should use your remote control to put it on timer. You can use timer for your remote control. If they work for about 5 minutes, they can shut down for about 2 minutes. Do you understand? So if you have 8 hours, instead of running straight 8 hours from morning till when you close, you can actually save about 3 consumption for the month. So if you normally are paying 50,000 for only that AC. Hello?
Hello.
Okay, sorry, it was on mute. Sorry, the guy that was asking the last question. I said I dropped my number there so we can talk. Those that want extra things at the end, if there are some little things I can share with you guys, I will do that. If you have 1 or 2 questions before we close, please.
No, we cannot see the number.
It's on chat.
Okay.
Put it on chat.
Good evening, sir.
Engineer E.
Evening, sir.
Yes, good evening.
Okay, thank you very much for the fantastic presentation. Okay, there is something I wanted to find out. I'm involved in one AC system installation. Let me not say installation, but the process.
Okay.
People call it central AC, which you actually simplify today as is it VRF?
There's VRF, there's VRF.
Yeah. So I don't know. Well, we were made to understand that you can isolate any faulty compressor and deal with it without not disrupting the functionality of that central AC. So
I think you are speaking of VRF. I think you are speaking of VRF.
Okay, no, I know it's what you are. I'm talking about VRF, but we know that it's central. But that is the common name people call it.
Call it,
so,
yes.
But VRF, that is what from your explanation. That's what I said. From your explanation, or the question I'm asking is related to that, to VRF, because you said that it will problem with it if any of the compressor has issue. That means the whole. I don't know that what you said, that you have to shut down.
Yes, I said so.
Okay.
I said if there's a leakage in one of the pipe, because by virtue of connection, once there's a leakage at one point, it affects the whole system. But for compressor, even for the outdoor unit, there's what they call master and slave.
Okay.
So they must have incorporated some technology that if a compressor has fault or one of the outdoor units has fault, you can empower through pressing code. I think 0 is master, 1 is the first slave, second, there's a program they put inside your unit to identify it on their cell. You know, like you have a student in class, you are the teacher in front of the class, you have a bimbo, bade, you have a name to call them. So on the same way, once you install the VRS system, all the namings of those units by number code must be programmed into the system, recognized by all the outdoor units. So if one is having fault, you can easily read it from the display on the outdoor unit. So the compressor actually can be isolated.
Okay.
And others can walk along, because you need to lock it. Because if you don't lock the place you isolate, gas will leak out. That's what I said. From everything, you must have an experienced person in charge.
Okay, and that is what I wanted to just, because I was being told that this AC I have, I can isolate a 40 compressor and deal with it. So just to get that clarification.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, no wahala. No wahala.
Thank you. All right.
Okay. And if you have seen my number, please indicate. If you are not seen, I can call it out. 080 37 39 1815. Did you get that? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Okay, 080 37 39 1815. I think with this, we are done for today's class. If there are no other questions.
All right, thank you very
sorry,
much.
Sir, just clarification. The rule of thumb, you said is 0.18 kilowatts per square meter, right?
That 0.18.
Yes. Per square meter. Okay. All right, thank you.
But this, like I told you, the 0.18 meters, you need to consider a lot of things. So don't just consider that as a whole. You understand?
Yes.
So
I get that.
if you know the kind of activities they need to do within that place, if you are designing for a hall where you have a lot of dancing, exercise, and the rest, you might want to go higher value. So 0.2, 0.3 per meter square. So calculate the length, the breadth, multiply it by a factor. Then you get the factor, it can be 3.17. So if you don't get 3.17, go to the market and buy any size close to that value. Then you'll be justified. You can also call me if you need any design or you want any issues. You can call me. I do consultancy. Then I have team with me too. No, Allah.
All right, thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much. But you guys didn't allow any lady to talk. I thought I saw one Ngozi in the house.
Hello, sir.
She doesn't have any question to ask.
Hello, sir.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, trying to convert your horsepower to kilowatt.
2 kilowatts.
You know, one horsepower.
2.88 kilowatts. 2.88 kilowatts.
2.88
kilowatts.
On is equal to what?
2.88 kilowatts. 2.88 kilowatts.
Yes,
Then
equal
please,
to what?
2.88 kilowatts. 2.88.
Yeah. Okay. No, I want to just ask you.
Yes, go ahead. I can hear you. Go ahead. Your network is bad. Then 1 ton. I can't hear you. I can't hear you clearly, please. Hello. Okay, I think we are done for today. I can't hear him talk. Madam, please, I'm off. Oh.
All right, thank you.
If there's no other question, I'll be off, please.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you. If they have their question, you already have my number. You can chat me up, introduce yourself, and we'll talk on WhatsApp. This is my number on WhatsApp.
All right, thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. Bless you. Bye.
Bye, sir.